In 2001, a small team at Tecmo set out with one goal: to create the scariest gaming experience in existence. Now, I've played a lot of horror games, but Fatal Frame is a series that's always interested me, but I've never got around to playing it until now. And you all told me that this would be a great game to make a video on. And you certainly weren't wrong, so keep suggesting stuff. Fatal Frame was called Zero in Japan and Project Zero in Europe, now commonly called Fatal Frame by most people outside of Japan. This is the scariest game I've ever played, ever. And not just because of jump scares, though it definitely has them, but from its masterclass in artistic design and terrifying, fascinating lore and single-handedly the most effective horror atmosphere in a video game. Point blank, zero shot, anything else takes that from it. And its rewarding, unique survival horror combat that you can only have in a Fatal Frame game. Or Pokemon Snap, but that's less scary. If you enjoy this video anytime you can, to support me, like the video, hype it to help it grow, that's a new thing, subscribe for more, and comment below. A huge thank you before we begin to all my YouTube members and Patreons who help keep the channel going.
I wonder how long it's been since my brother and I began to see things other people can't see.
The game starts with a voiceover from Miku Hinasaki, our main character, and she's talking about how her and her brother see things different from normal people. They have the ability to see the supernatural. In September 24th, 1986, her brother Mafuyu went to Himuro Mansion, an abandoned historical Japanese mansion. Miku's voiceover tells us he went there to search for a man called Junsei Takamine, a famous novelist.
Junsei Takamine, a famous novelist, and a man my brother was very indebted to, disappeared while researching a book.
The game then shows us some awesome early 2000s video game chapter screen art. We need to bring these back.
The forbidden rituals of this area. It looks like Mr. Takamine was doing research into them. I wonder if his group is still here.
And from that very interesting sounding voice acting, Mafuyu explains how Takamine came here with a group to investigate the forbidden rituals that went on in the location. You will notice the mansion right now is very dark and the screen is in black and white. That is only present for the prologue. All we have on us is a camera called the Camera Obscura. Looking around, instantly this place is very creepy. The entranceway is in ruin with debris falling into the floor. But most effective of all is the ambient sounds in this game. Howling wind or ghostly wails, distant but present, and the sound of static. But this static is actually for the collectibles of the game. As using the camera, we can see blue filament on our UI. Eventually the reticle goes blue and we take a picture, and from that picture we can see the ghost named A Child Left Behind has been watching us. His description will later say a child spirited away by ghosts, and he is waiting on someone to find him, which sets a very depressing tone for the ghosts. These hidden spirits are what we want to find to complete a ghost list. Static or controller rumbling paired with a blue spirit light will alert us to any nearby. But in taking that shot, our camera number goes down from 48 to 47. This shows us how much film we have left. So 2 minutes into the game and we've found a ghost already. This place is infested. Always watching you and always in the ambience making noise. He finds type 14 film on the floor and puts it in the camera. In the entranceway is actually another old camera, a large one with a blue light. This is the save point in the game, and where we can look at pictures taken and refill our camera's film only when it's under a certain number and only the type 14. Looking at our photo of the ghost, it tells us the date we took it, the area, and the score. More on what the score means will be explained later. We continue walking on, the wails and our footprints being the only sound, and we find ourselves in a corridor with tons of rope hanging down as we walk. The light goes orange, indicating a hostile spirit, and Mafuyu quickly takes a picture of the rope hallway man. At the end of the hallway is a large mirror. I mean, why would anyone ever put a large mirror at the end of a large hallway, especially one with hanging rope all the way down it? Entering the door that man spirit went through, we find ourselves in a larger room with an old suit of Japanese armor in a corner. Using the camera to look around, there's a second floor above us. He sees a lion mask on a chest and a fire pit is in the middle. Weirdly on the wall is an ink drawing scroll of a woman crying, but it's faded with time. He hears more static and takes a picture of an angry man ghost who's just staring at us from a walkway, his face only visible from the left. We attempt to walk up a staircase, but it's collapsed. However, the staircase up to the walkway hasn't, and at the top is sliding door rooms. Then on the ground he finds the notebook of Takamine, and he picks it up, and he has a vision of the research group entering the mansion. Takamine, a woman, and a man. A ghost of a woman in a kimono appears in the mirror, but they don't see it. However, as he ponders what he saw, he hears creaking, and turning around, someone is climbing up the stairs, but there's nothing there. He hears it, but he can't see anything. So he slowly holds up the camera. When he looks through it, he sees the ghost of a bound man in ropes. And he's come up the stairs and he's coming towards him. He takes a picture right as it attacks, and it seems to have an effect on the spirit. This is where we get introduced to our first combat encounter. Yeah, unlike other survival horror games, we don't use melee weapons or guns or have no combat. Because while melee weapons in survival horror games are fun, it becomes less scary when you get better with it. Same with guns and limited ammo, but when you find tons of ammo eventually or better guns, it becomes less scary. And while unarmed combat is the most scary of them all, it does become more frustrating as the game goes on. In Fatal Frame, all we have is our camera, and the combat is taking pictures. However, it's not as simple as find the ghost and shoot it. Your camera is basically a gun that exercises ghosts temporarily. But the gameplay relies on high risk, high reward, constant tension. As you keep your camera reticle on a ghost, a meter charges. The higher up, the more damage. But obviously, this varies every single ghost on their health. When blue, you can shoot your camera at it, but if you want to be a real photographer, you can wait for the moment just before an attack when the circle goes orange to get a 0 shot, the highest damage you can do. However, mistime this and you're certainly going to get punished. It creates a simple yet effective combat system that gets really addicting as the game goes on, and always makes it that every single combat encounter is scary and nerve-wracking. No matter how good you get with the camera, you might get caught off guard or having to wait for these terrifying enemy designs to get close to you. It's the stuff of nightmares. Your film is also your ammo, so you want to defeat them in the least amount of shots possible to make your playthrough easier. Thankfully for the bound ghost man, he just slowly approaches as a tutorial enemy. You can see in the top left how much damage a shot did and see a health bar for the ghost. When defeated, the spirit twists and distorts. This ghost isn't gone, as you will see the same ghosts do keep reappearing throughout the game. It's more temporarily, you're saving your ass.
I captured a ghost with this camera. This camera has the power to expose things the normal eye can't see. I remember the incident from which I learned of its unique power to capture ghosts.
Mafuyu sounds kinda like an anime villain. This information isn't new to him though, and he knew the camera would do this, explaining his very calm reaction. Another very creepy thing is when you pause the game, the psychological horror doesn't stop, as ghostly bloody hands appear over the UI, reminding you that you can't escape the effect this game has on you unless you literally turn off the game. Mafuyu then goes back to the rope hallway, but feels a supernatural presence turning around slowly and then just having zero reaction to whatever he sees. Miku has read a note left behind from her brother that told her he was going to the Himuro mansion.
I felt as though something was calling me here. for you.
And so now that he's missing, she has traveled to find him. Chapter 1. The Strangling Ritual. As she enters the mansion, it keeps switching from an older look to how it is now, and she hears a little girl ask for help.
Did someone just...
Looking around just to miss seeing her. Before we begin, there's actually quite an interesting fact about this version of the game, the USA version compared to the Japanese. And it's actually the character Miku has a different design, looking older in the USA one and not wearing a schoolgirl uniform, and just having a completely different hair color, while also her eyebrows are like slightly different. It's a weird change. I guess they did try to appeal to a more Western audience, or thought they were. The mansion is now in color and ghostly painful wails still echo around. Miku walks into a blue light, and this ghostly face is the man who came with Takamine, the novelist. Blue spirit leaves behind a piece of paper called Research Notes, and it reads,
"Now, there's another rope, and another rope."
Very insightful. Glad he wrote that down. We then walk down the rope hallway, but this time ropes are moving and react if we touch them. In front of the mirror, Miku finds the camera. Touching it, she sees a vision of her brother in the hallway running past tons of arms reaching out for him, all coming from a girl with a black hair.
Did something happen to my brother?
She now has her brother's camera and a notebook which reads Himuro Mansion Investigation. The mansion was once the home of a large landowner that controlled vast areas of land. They also say the site held some special significance that has to do with Shinto rituals of the region. However, information was scarce about this. The last family master of the Himuro family actually massacred his entire household. Then, when a later family tried to live there, they disappeared, and now the mansion just lies abandoned in ruin, hidden in a forest in the mountains. On September 24th, Mafuyu writes he had a bad feeling ever since he came here, and he's leaving notes in a notebook in case anything happens to him. After reading it, the ghost of a man on a beam lies above the hanging ropes. He's just complaining about those ropes. It seems the research team is down to 2. Miku follows the path her brother took and takes a picture of him climbing up the stairs. Interestingly, the game tells us this is Bro's shadow. The clock is frozen in time at 11:45. At the top of the stairs, this time we hear what sounds like quiet chanting coming from behind a door. Unfortunately, the door is locked. So we go down the stairs and we see the ghost of the research man again, seemingly lost and looking for the other 2. Miku, however, senses a presence and spots a young girl in a white kimono who approaches her and points at her camera. She doesn't seem hostile, and she then points to scribbles on a door and then just disappears. For whatever reason, it seems this young girl spirit is guiding Miku. If the controller vibrates or we hear strange sound, it's worth looking around for a blue circle to take a picture of. And after taking a photo, the folding screen reveals a door is hidden behind it. And sure enough, like in the photo, there is a hidden door. Fatal Frame actually uses fixed camera angles, a relic of old games, and one that needs to be brought back to the mainstream, honestly. It just makes every horror game feel a little bit more uneasy, like something is watching you constantly. And it changes where you're looking, and it seems like something that those who aren't used to it would find it annoying, but it's just really not. You kind of just adapt to it. It's like every scene of the game is a directed film scene, choosing what you can see and what you can't at specific moments. It's just something an over-the-shoulder, third-person perspective cannot achieve. And walking down this long corridor as the perspective winds round like with a POV of a stalking enemy. It's just pure atmospheric brilliance. We find herbal medicine, the healing item of the game. Miku enters a room and picks up a newspaper clipping on a chest with fine plates on it. It reads, Late yesterday, a human body with no limbs was found in the Himuro mountain. The body's hands, feet, and head were all torn off, and the police are calling the case a murder and an accident, unsure what's really happened. The body is that of a man around the age of 30, and a mutilated body was found in the same manner, in the same location, 15 years ago. We keep seeing the researcher man, and he's speaking of a woman in a kimono coming after him. In this room is the sound of an otherworldly deep voice. We also discover Type 37 film with Miku wondering if Mifuyu left it here. This does more damage than the lower number film, obviously. Getting closer to the scary sound, Miku opens a closet and finds a tape recorder has been making the noise. Then the body of a man falls onto it, and we have so little time to take a picture of it before it fades away. This is another aspect of the game. At certain moments, like this one, you will be timed to take a picture in cutscenes. It's very punishing, and it's required for 100% in the game, which I didn't do, because I'm not a sadist and time just exists in real life. Me not wanting to fail getting this one though, I reloaded, I tried again, and I tried again, and then I tried again, and again and again. After multiple attempts, I finally got the picture called Dead Man's Body. You know, they could have been a bit more creative with the name there. If we actually pause and look at the body as it falls from the closet, we can see his neck has rope markings, and his eyes are there, but they're so far back into his skull. Attempting to reach for the recorder, the dead man's ghost grabs his hand around Miku, staring into her, and she gets a vision of what happened to him. He was running in panic around the mansion before hiding in the closet, and the lady in the kimono finds him laughing, opening the closet door as multiple ghostly hands grab onto him. And then, well, we saw what happened to him. As Miku takes the tape recorder, the door slides open behind her. We will listen to this later because I kind of forgot about it. The door opening had my attention. The door that's opened leads to a kimono room. The ambient sound's even louder here. A strange mirror is also just in the corner. As Miku goes towards something she spots on the ground, she hears someone speak to her. The ghost of the man starts approaching us, begging for help, but also attacking us. Not the smartest idea. We wait till he's close enough, then take the shot as it's orange, getting the 0-shot special shot. Again, not too difficult in the early game. We now learn about power-ups. As our camera seal has been broken, we get mystical power by damaging ghosts, depending on our score when taking a picture. With these points, we can then level up the base stats and eventually special abilities with auxiliary functions. Special functions can only be used if the story has already been completed once. So we can just choose to upgrade our range, speed, or max value. Range letting us obviously be able to take pictures of ghosts further away, speed reducing the charging time to deal damage, and max value just increases the amount of charge and damage you can get. Each upgrade obviously costs more points as you level it up to a max of 4. Now for bonus function, we can get pushing ghosts back, which is, it's okay, it slows them down. Slow, which does what it says on the tin. C, which just makes the ghosts more visible. This one's kind of mid. Paralyze, which stops movement temporarily and is the best and only bonus upgrade I've ever used because why would I use any other one? And the last one just locks onto ghosts automatically, and that's just boring. We upgrade the speed first with the points we have. And that background music is just never stopping, never letting you feel at ease. So we leave the room and the ghost we literally just vanished appears behind us again, and I panic, waste my shot, because I mean, that got me so bad. Luckily, the ghost goes through me without attacking me, and I learned you can actually walk while aiming. I rarely did this in the entire game. So we keep walking down the long and twisty corridor and enter back into the kimono room and investigate the mirror stand. Opening the drawer, we find a picture of the research man and a key. On the picture, however, the ropes have appeared around his limbs. We now have a name to call him by, or a title, I guess. We still don't have his name. But he is the editor for Takamine.
The ropes.
And we immediately get jump scared, turning around by the editor's ghost. You legit are never allowed to rest in this game. You are always close to being attacked or finding a ghost jump scare. This man's ghost has literally attacked us 3 times in the last 5 minutes. He repeats his last words about ropes and a girl in the white kimono. It's pretty sad. He's a lot more aggressive in this fight as well. I mistime a shot, and when that happens, the ghost grabs onto you, rapidly draining your health, which is represented on the side by a blue health bar. Again, if you do not move out the way, you can get attacked immediately again. Sometimes when defeating ghosts, their blue spirit leaves behind a voice, a last memory they had. If you've seen my Corpse Party videos, you will notice a lot of similarities. Tortured souls reliving their deaths forever in a ruined, cursed location, a research team that came to investigate becoming victims, and just blue spirits in general. And that's not the end of the Corpse Party similarities. I really wonder when I keep playing more Japanese or Asian style horror games if these themes are just common across all of them. Wanting to leave the kimono room as soon as possible, since being attacked by the editor's ghost 3 times now and that background ghostly atmosphere in this room just screaming danger, Miku hears someone running up the stairs, and following after them, we use the key on a padlock to enter a new part of the mansion, finding another research scrap beside an old book. In the menu, you can see this was written by Ryozo Munokata. This one talking about the many rituals and customs that have been passed down through generations of the Himuro family. However, most of the knowledge has been lost. The only things left are some documents that record these rituals as a legend. All of the Himuro family members are dead, and anyone who was close to the family has never spoken about the rituals. But they do note there is one ritual that is just shrouded in mystery that happens on December 13th, where people who live in the villages near the mansion would stay inside and consider it bad luck to leave windows or doors open on that day. Entering through, a shadow appears in a window beside her, and it just quickly fades away. It's just a creepy event that can happen. Searching round, Miku then finds a red notebook scrap.
My instincts told me not to. There are rope marks on my body, just like Koji.
August 27th. The more I find out about Himura Mansion, the creepier it gets. I'm sure it's the perfect subject matter for Mr. Takamine's next book, but to be perfectly honest, I don't like this assignment one bit. It gives me a bad feeling. There's no way I want to go to that mansion, but it's my job, right? I guess I'll have to go. And I wouldn't waste that chance to work with Mr. Takamine just because of a little bit uneasiness either. It doesn't help I have this sixth sense for the supernatural either. There's such a thing as knowing too much sometimes.
I feel like maybe joining a horror novelist team wasn't this person's smartest idea if, they don't like creepy places. They say they don't want to go, but it's their job. Like, why did you choose this of all things as your job? It also turns out this person has a sixth sense for the supernatural as well. This was written by the woman in the research team, as her notes are called red notebook scrap, not research notes. And she is called Tomoe. Miku then walks down some stairs, and as she gets to the bottom, she sees her brother walk round the corner just out of sight. She very quickly, at the speed of a turtle, jogs after him, saying to wait. Unfortunately for us, round the corner comes not Mafuyu, I found out here I really wasn't good at the combat yet. Thankfully, this area just goes round in a square looping. Even then, getting grabbed by him causes massive damage. He's actually saying, "Give back my child." Understanding his movement has him go to the ground before attacking. We beat him pretty easily. He reminds me of the janitor from Little Nightmares. We then enter a door to what is the room that probably most people would say is the creepiest room in the entire game. However, it's very debatable, as you can see. Every single part of this mansion could be the most creepiest part and terrifying part of the game. It's horrifying. This room is called the Grand Hall. It doesn't resemble what you may think a Grand Hall would look like. It's just an open space and wide corridors with many sliding doors. But the ambient music here is particularly unsettling. It's overwhelming, the large amount of tortured souls wailing, of spirits echoing, and before we even know the lore of this room, you already have the sense something terrible has happened here. And that's great atmospheric design right there.
I clearly saw the image of a woman in front of the mirror near the entrance. She had long hair and a white kimono. There were ropes tied to her arms and legs, and she dragged them along as she walked. I think I heard Koji talk about something like that too. There's something very wrong about this mansion.
So now we have the official name of the editor, Koji Ogata. And this game seems to have a big theme with the ropes being what killed Koji. Ropes tearing his limbs, tightening around him, which from the cutscene we saw on his ghostly body, and hearing the white kimono lady has these ropes, we can assume that's what she did when she found him. Miku then looks at the sliding doors and sees dark red stains as if blood has flowed here. As we go down the corridor, we see all the sliding doors have been covered in blood splatters, with the windows to this room being nailed shut from the outside. Opening more doors, the final part has been torn apart. Miku then finds another research scrap on the ground. It reads about the mystery of the Rope Maiden. Maybe this will explain why they have a rope hallway. Among the few documents that were found about the ritual, most mention the Rope Shrine Maiden. Her arms, legs, and neck are bound by 5 ropes. However, no documents discuss the role she plays in the ritual. One theory is that she is a sacrificial lamb, but Ryozo finds that hard to believe, that such a cruel ritual was practiced here. I mean, I don't know how they find that hard to believe when there's literally rumors and secrets to their rituals. No one has a secret ritual in a mansion unless it's some messed up stuff. Or have a rope hall. Is that like even a thing? I mean, the game Bark's Art claims to be based on a real story, but you know, this is just part of the marketing. There is no real Himuro Mansion, and let's be grateful there isn't. Miku tries to leave the room through a door, but hair is wrapped around the handle. Hair blocking a door in a cursed building? I mean, we might be having some kind of corpse party around here in a bit. Well, that's fine, we can just go back the way through that long, wide open hallway with bloody stains on the walls and doors. With that background sound that's been giving me goosebumps and cold shivers for the past half hour. This might actually be one of the darkest games in terms of lighting ever as well, similar to Silent Hill 2 in the apartment. It's really hard to explain just how oppressive and anxiety-inducing this game's atmosphere is. It can't really be put into words, you just have to experience it yourself, but if you don't want to do that, and I don't blame you, I will try my best to convey or create that same feeling. This is the only video game I've played that genuinely makes you feel anxiety to play it. The atmosphere is suffocating, and you are literally unsafe at all moments playing this game, and you know it. Even if you don't know it, you feel it. The so-called safe rooms, they ain't like Resident Evil. They're not safe. The save camera goes red and enemies can attack you from any room at any time in the mansion, but it's only specific ghosts that do this, so it's not every enemy, but you don't know that. So you have a false sense of security early on when you do try it and you are safe, so you're like, oh nice, this is a safe room. It's not a safe room. It's a temporarily safe room until you find a stronger ghost. And you're never calm, you're always on edge, and it's just one of the most unique feelings in a game, and it's so mentally draining. I've never been so immersed in a horror game. And the ghosts are actually random for each playthrough if they appear and what ones appear from a selection, Not just the ghosts, some being way more frustrating than others, but this game actually has, like Silent Hill, random chance events and scares. For example, you may walk down the rope hallway at one point and, for one player, nothing will happen. For another, a rope will fall on you, causing Miku to react and for you to jump out your skeleton. Sound effects like laughing, crying, anything horrible can just randomly happen. There is no mercy from this game. You are never ever going to feel safe or calm or not on edge because you shouldn't be if you want to survive. Not to mention every single encounter drains your precious film, limited resources, and with healing items you only fully heal at the end of a chapter. And these enemies on the normal difficulty still do a lot of damage. So you run out of healing items, you're screwed. To top it all off, as if the atmosphere wasn't as crushing as it already is, that creepy background music that plays? Yeah, that has random sound effects too. Most infamously for me, quiet knocking, the sound of opening doors, voices chanting stuff, footsteps walking up the stairs, entering rooms, but then looking and you see nothing is there. Your sanity will be drained from this experience. Like, oh my god, this game is not to be played unless you can handle horror games. Because when we get to ghosts, they don't just move in a straight line and start teleporting behind you, and areas you think are safe are never safe. That's when you start questioning, why did I play this game? The game design itself is your stalker enemy, hunting you. Not just the ghosts. The game itself is the actual monster. If you can get even a glimpse of that from this video, maybe from the sounds alone, just know playing it yourself is a whole other ballgame. But that's what these videos are for, so you can relive the nightmare, or be an observer to my suffering, while learning about the fascinating story. The game's actually designed to gaslight you and break the fourth wall to haunt you. Basically, if you explore more around an area that won't advance the story, you're more likely to be attacked, or if you stay still in an area for too long. Of course, like most horror games with headphones, these sounds can be in one ear or travel throughout your ear. There's even hidden chances of ghosts that aren't catalogued. Now back to Miku, we still need to leave the Grand Hall by going back through it. The wide open, surely nothing bad will happen hall. And of course a hostile ghost is here, and as you can see it almost gave me an actual heart attack. We get a nice picture of them though, and they don't have much health, however the situation has left me petrified. That's the first time a ghost has appeared and moved in a way that isn't just float towards Miku. We eventually find a door that has weird buttons and symbols, one of the puzzles in Fatal Frame 1. Certain doors will have these, and Miku is actually able to make out some of the words. This will be the hint to the document you need to work out the puzzle. Though even more clear is that the numbers are just written in red in the document, but we don't need to talk about that because my explanation sounded cooler. This one being the Shinto ritual and the strangling held on the day of. And now we don't actually have the document. We enter the room that has fallen candles and a scroll about the strangling ritual. I mean, what a name. The strangling ritual happens on the 13th day of the 12th month, and a maiden is cut off from the outside world for 3,669 long days, and she shall be torn apart to provide power to the rope. Well, that's disturbing. This explains why the rope theme has been so prevalent. Maidens torn apart, and from early notes, a rope maiden, which we now know why they're called that, being torn apart to spiritually power a rope. We catch a glimpse of a female spirit walking through a door, and this is a clever way the game is designed to tell you where progression is. Of course, you could accidentally miss this, and the game later on becomes very much not guided. Miku finds a red notebook scrap on the table written by Tomoe.
September 11th, 6:30 a.m. I saw that woman in the white kimono again. She's trying to tell me something. She knows I have this special sense for ghostly things. The woman's name is Kyrie. So it's Kyrie, huh? I shouldn't get any closer than this. I don't want to get any closer than this. I'm scared.
Now Miku has seen a young girl in a white kimono, so that must be Kyrie. Miku inspects the table with tons of candles and offerings and finds a box for a mortuary tablet which is used as a memorial for the soul of the deceased. Considered to be where the soul actually resides. Human bones also lie among the candles. Miku takes a picture of a talisman on a door and it disappears with the photo producing another room. This is what the game uses to hint where you're meant to go, but it doesn't have a direction pointing towards it or even give you a name. You just have to explore around the maze-like labyrinth of hostile ghosts to find it yourself. This will obviously vary between players if they prefer this, as exploring around and discovering stuff can be very fun, but there is the frustrating aspect of not knowing how to progress. I mean, I think that's amazing for this type of game, really immersing you in feeling lost in a mansion. And each room is distinct enough in its visual design that you will remember objects and rooms. And then if you enter a room for the first time, I mean, it'll play a cutscene if you found it anyway. And we can't open this door until we find what's in the photo. We do find a save room, and in the room a black notebook scrap. It reads,
"We found Ogata's body. His head, hands and feet were strangled off. What happened to him is just like the strange deaths that occurred here long ago. There was a photo of Ogata near him. In it there was something that looked like ropes on his neck, arms and legs. I wondered if it has anything to do with the rope shrine maidens, the girls that had ropes tied to their neck, arms and legs too. Tomoe is acting strangely. She's been mumbling nonsense all morning. Something about ropes and mirrors. I can't blame her for going to pieces though, after seeing what happened to Ogata."
We also find a document talking about the 5 stones to give thanks to the 5 gods' protection. Place a stone that represents one of the mirrors in the correct location, and we don't get any more further information on that. So we go back to the door with the puzzle. We first look at some research notes I never read.
August 20th. Mr. Takamine needs some background material for his next work. There's a book about Humoru Mansion by a certain folklorist, and I'm supposed to look for it. A book about Shinto rituals and legends from every part of the country. Author Ryuzo Munakata. Title unknown. August 22nd. I can't find the book, but I did some checking on the folklorist. I found out he moved into Humuro Mansion to do research on it, but after some certain event, he and his whole family disappeared. I couldn't find the book, but I found a news article from that period about it. It's a small missing person story, but it might be helpful as background material. September 10th, 11 a.m. It looks like the earthquake last month and the murders in that village have something to do with Humuro Mansion. This stuff is probably all going into Mr. Takamine's next book. He really seems to be into this subject matter. His output rate should be good. September 10th, 4 p.m. The entrance door is broken. When in the world did that happen? It won't open. I'll have to find another way out. September 11th. I haven't been feeling well since 2 nights ago. Actually, it's more like ever since Tomoe took my picture. What in the world does the rope in this photo mean, I wonder? September 10th, 1:10 p.m. There seems to be a few devices in this mansion that are engraved with old characters. When I asked Mr. Takamine about them, he said they corresponded to numbers. I understand the first few. They're the old characters for the numbers 0 through 3, but I don't get the rest. They're characters that have the same readings as 4 through 9, but mean something different.
So they can't leave the mansion. It seems once you enter, you're spirited away. We can see what each number and symbol represent. Weirdly, it's actually the number 0 where 12 would be on a clock, and it goes anti-clockwise with 1, 2, 3, and so on. And putting in 1, 3, 1, 2, it unlocks the door. These puzzles aren't hard, it's just confusing at first because of how different the position of the numbers are to an actual clock. And if you didn't see or read that note, you just wouldn't know. Inside, the girl in the white kimono says, "This way," and points to something. She kind of seems annoyed at how slow we are. Taking a picture of the seductress ghost, the talisman burns away, which means the door is now unlocked. That's another gameplay aspect. You find certain ghosts, take a picture to burn the talismans, and unlock more locked areas. Before leaving this area though, we find an old news article in a cabinet. It talks about a girl who has been missing for 3 days in the Himuro mountain area. Rumored to have been snatched away by ghosts, a local urban legend. However, she was found alive by local man. The police are waiting for her to recover to ask about the other 3 missing children. Now, this was actually a note I didn't find of, so for when that happens, I'm going to include the rest in these sections. So the note before this actually said, police had received a report that 4 children had failed to come home after 9 p.m. with an old superstition of children and villagers near the mountain area being snatched away by ghosts. Then the final note we find later on in the game, but I'm including it here, talks about how the girl who was found has been adopted by a Mr. Hinasaki, a close friend of Mr. Ryozo, who this girl was the daughter of. Ryozo Munakata is one of the writers of the books we found, but he's also been reported missing as well as the mother. The other 3 children have not been found. This is very important because of the name Mr. Hinasaki, which is the surname of Miku and Mafuyu. So the man who adopted this girl is related in some way that we do not currently know to our main characters. Climbing the ladders, we find another research scrap talking about the disaster called the Calamity, a great tragedy that struck the region that was called the Calamity. However, much of it is unknown, only the description saying, "The mirrors kept in the 5 shrines broke, and the dead returned from hell." Now, this isn't the first time we've heard about mirrors and the 5 stones that represented these mirrors that broke that are now mentioned in the Calamity. But that's all we know about the event right now. A hostile ghost screaming for help awaits us when we go back to the burial room. Now, after defeating the ghost, you will notice an animation plays, the one where they turn into a blue sphere then explode into particles. When you see this, that means that specific ghost has the possibility of returning again later. There's another animation that can play, but I'll explain that when it happens. Now Miku can go through the door and they find themselves in an outside area. At the top of some stairs is another black notebook.
Tomoe's condition is getting worse and worse. She can't stop shaking and she keeps mumbling the same words over and over. I don't know if what's happening is anything supernatural or not, but in any case, I think we'd better leave as soon as possible. Tomoe is in such bad shape she can't even move. I guess I'll have to look for a way out here myself. Even if we waited for help, I doubt anyone would ever come looking for us.
Another talisman seals the door this time, and the picture shows some creepy dolls. Miku goes down the outside stairs and past some torii gates which represent the transition from human world to the spiritual. She seems to be in the mansion's garden area, with a tree nearby and a pretty wide open space, which as a player is unsettling in a different way because there's more directions to be attacked. We see Tomoe's spirit walking out of the now described atrium. Her spirit, like many others, is crying for help. Before going after her though, we find a red tape 2 labelled Research 2. Now in the menu we find we have some tapes to listen to. Kinda like the Batman Arkham Asylum patient tapes. So let's listen to them and...
September 9th, 5:40 p.m. The mansion was nowhere to be seen on the map, so we finally had to ask the locals how to find it. They told us that Himuro Mansion had been empty for several decades now. The same ones who told us where it was also warned us not to come here, which was quite disconcerting. September 9th, 9:40 p.m. It seemed dangerous to walk through the mountain at night, so we decided to spend the night here and continue our work. I've been through several rooms already. Unlike the exterior, the interior is still in quite good shape. A little earlier, I thought I saw a white, shadowy figure of a woman in the hallway near the entrance. I'll keep track of such sightings and publish them in a later account.
So the white tapes we just listened to was Koji Ogata speaking about his experiences getting to and exploring the mansion. We also have the red tape by Tomoe Hirasaka. I find the first tape later on, but we're just going to play it now to save time.
September 10th, 10:20 a.m. We discovered some disturbing photos in a chest of drawers. Could these be the folklorist's children mentioned in Koji's notes? The photo is quite old and shows some kids playing tag. In the corner of the photo, there's a faint image of a young girl in a white kimono. Her finger is pointed this way, and her eyes look as if she's making some silent accusation. September 11th, 8:16 p.m. We looked all over the mansion, but we still couldn't find Koji. While true that this mansion is huge, I'm certain we would have found him by now. Could we have already left? He's been saying something about more ropes since we took some photos yesterday.
Hearing the ghost sounds and voices in the tapes is so damn creepy, and also just shows us that every second in this place probably been haunted or watched by something, and the Kyrie was following them. Interestingly, in the first tape, the voice we hear is the white kimono spirit, the helpful one. I love audio tapes in horror games and just games in general, getting to hear the thoughts and voices of characters and get a glimpse into what was happening at the time of the recording. Purely by the audio alone lets us use our mind to imagine or picture what they and the surroundings look like. BioShock does this very effectively. Getting that glimpse into the world and the history of the game through audio alone is exactly what builds up such an effective atmosphere and immerses the player not just into the minds of them speaking, but the world and locations of the game. I've said it many times and I will keep saying it, but one of the most important aspects to me in games is immersion into the world and the story, and Fatal Frame nails that. After listening to the tapes, we take a picture of a hidden ghost with one of the most horrifying looks, the woman in pain. It's very photorealistic. Now that we've explored around the atrium, we follow through where Tomoe's spirit walked into. It's a place called the Abyss. Miku sees a red tape on the ground and misses the spirit of someone tied to a water wheel. As she picks up the tape though, she gets a horrible vision of Tomoe's death, getting strangled in this very location. As she stares into Kyrie's face, as the spirit ropes tighten round her neck and limbs. Then Kyrie's many hands grab at her as she screams from fear, which turns into a painful moan. Her body drops dead as Takamine sees her corpse, having just watched it happen, and calls out to Kyrie, who turns around to face him.
September 12th, 9 a.m. I found Koji. His death was just like the one in the mountain village. His head and limbs were severed. I can't believe what's happening.
It seems what happened to Ogata, the rope curse, also killed her in the end, with Kyrie being the one to cause the curse. However, she just died of strangulation. Her limbs weren't torn apart from the ropes like Ogata was. The Abyss is an area that has large lanterns scattered around it and a thick fog covering a vast sea or body of water. Seemingly goes on forever. Despite being so many lanterns, they don't actually produce much light, with this one being one of the darkest areas in the game. This is the part I actually went back to look for the other red tape and got a random ghost encounter, a broken neck lady. This ghost slowly moves towards you, her neck always facing you, and then quickly attacks at a certain range. She's very annoying, as if the ghost grabs you, it's hard to shake them off and get away. I also got attacked by a floating head ghost. This is what happens if you backtrack or move away from progression. In a way, it's great for getting more points, but it's also very scary when, you just want to find something and you keep getting attacked. While the ghost is nightmare fuel, it's very predictable and aggressive in its movements. I do eventually discover what we were looking for, another save room called the anteroom, which means a small room that leads to a big main room. In this location is the tape we've listened to, and a lot of small kimonos and dolls, and a red notebook scrap.
August 20th. It seems a folklorist named Ryozo Munakata was studying about the various rituals passed down at Himuro Mansion. He supposedly left a book of research, but I can't find it anywhere. I wonder if there's a copy in the library somewhere. August 30th. I still can't find the book. I'll have Koji Agata from the editing department do a search for it. I doubt he'll be able to find it though.
We return to the Abyss and find a hidden ghost on the water wheel called Woman Pulled In. Taking a photo burns a talisman and lets us enter a new room. in which we hear a baby crying outside. I really don't want to enter this room. Before we even get through the door, Tomoe's spirit turns around to stare right at us. And this room is just filled with tons of creepy Japanese dolls, and a big hole in the center of the room that's caved in from something. Then we find another red notebook scrap from Tomoe.
September 12th, 1:45 p.m. My sixth sense is telling me some children are playing here. I can't see them, but they keep calling to me. Are they playing tag? Or hide and seek, maybe? They might be the children in that photo.
September 12th, 4:30 p.m. There are so many heads in that room. So many of them. They were cut off by the Himuro family master. They were all trying to tell me something. I never should have come here. I should have trusted that sixth sense of mine.
Now there's a lot to talk about here, firstly about the room with all the decapitated heads. You may think, well, that's clearly hinting to a room we're going to see later in the game. But no, you will never find this room. It doesn't exist in the game itself. It's not something Miku can find. And I kind of love that, because it makes the mansion seem even more malicious and mysterious. It's a room we're never going to understand, and that's a very key part of the horror, the fear of the unknown. It makes the world of Fatal Frame feel larger than your map. You'll never complete it, really. And it's even more dangerous than you can imagine. It's a room that is apparently so depraved that we'll never see, but it does exist in the story and the lore, and technically our imagination. We won't actually witness all the horrible things in this mansion, but we will hear the experiences that people had. And well, you can see how it ended up for her. So just having the knowledge that there's a room somewhere of human heads cut off by the family master trying to tell them something is horrifying. We also need to talk about Tomoe and the effectiveness of her character in this horror narrative. She's really just a reflection of Miku, not in terms of backstory, that's obviously very different, but more in terms of her journey that mirrors the one we're going on. She was also spiritually gifted, having the sixth sense, and saw similar ghostly events. Essentially, she was acting as the protagonist of her own story. We are reading what would normally be the notes left behind of a main character who's uncovering a mystery. Even the white kimono spirit was trying to communicate with her, just like we see with Miku. The whole decapitated headroom in any other story would be a key event to learning the mystery. Instead, though, we have the sadness of Tomoe's brutal end, and only reading their notes about what they found out. This obviously makes us now think if this person who made a lot of discoveries had the guidance of a white kimono girl and had the same gifts that let her see the danger, then what's going to be the fate for Miku? Is she heading down that same tragic path to her demise? However, there is one major difference. Miku has the camera obscura. Here in static, we turn and take a picture of a child onlooker. He's just been watching us all the time from behind the table. This unlocks another door. But before we can leave, we hear children laughing and whispering. The doors slide open, and on the ground is a crawling child ghost. It's very hard to see and very quick. And accidentally quick turning around as you're about to take a picture does not help. It's asking if it can play with Miku and saying why won't anyone find them. Also, it's a scream that paralyzes the player. After defeating the boss, there's actually some backstory to the ghosts I want to talk about. But also, the ghosts have tragic lore about them. They aren't just creepy enemies. For example, this crawling girl was actually snatched away by a ghost while playing a game of tag. And we find out later that this ghost was actually the Long Arms ghost. Yeah, the one we fought earlier. His story was his daughter was chosen to be a rope shrine maiden. When he died, his desire and anger from wanting to find his daughter led him to kidnap and spirit away children, which kills them, so it's all kind of just connected. Even more so as this crawling girl was actually the friend of the girl who went missing. So Long Arms ghost actually was responsible for taking and killing the rest of them. Which also means this event took place at a different time period from the strangling ritual. Long Arms actually grabbed her through the wall while they were playing a game. We find a doll that's much bigger than the others, roped off with sacred rope and long hair covering its face. It's in the white kimono which Tomoe's spirit said Kyrie when near this. And then as we're walking, a woman falls headfirst from a balcony and immediately starts floating towards us, but with her head turned away to the last second, revealing it as Broken Neck Lady. We've randomly encountered her before, but this is her introduction, and she does a lot of damage if she manages to get to you. She also pretty much goes invisible at some point, so you really have to track them with the viewfinder. She's also one of the more disturbing ghosts, just due to her horror of having a broken neck that's constantly staring at you. And then screaming about how much pain she's in, as she's dead, but constantly feeling the pain of how she died. In this case, jumping from the balcony and breaking her neck on impact, and that's gotta be really painful. This ghost also has some evil gaming programming, as if you first encounter her and bring up the camera, she will teleport right in front of you, jump scaring you, and if you don't react quick enough, just instantly hurting you. Luckily, this didn't happen to me during the fight, as I was a bit slow to actually bring up the camera. We enter through a new door and take a picture of a man turning. It's Takamine's spirit, so he also died as well. We now have enough points to unlock Paralyze and upgrade our camera's basic functions. Takamine's spirit, called Kyrie the Rope Maiden, and it leaves behind a lighter with his name.
That woman that Tomoe called Kyrie looks just like the descriptions of the Rope Shrine Maiden in the legends. And there's a strong resemblance too between the way Tomoe and Ogata died and the manner of deaths in the folklore. So that woman is the Rope Shrine Maiden, is she?
The mirror is breaking. A broken mirror. People on the floor all over the mansion. So many people. All those people. What are they running from? And at the end, with such desperate looks on their faces. Something's coming this way, from deep within the mansion. A coldness. It's colder than anything I've ever felt. I don't know anymore if this is a dream or real.
So Tomoe is speaking a lot about these mirrors and them breaking, and more of the mystery is becoming clearer. We're probably going to have to find these so-called broken mirrors. And not too long afterwards, we walk up a staircase and find an old book telling us about the mirrors. It reads, The Legend of the Holy Mirrors, the Mirrors of the Five Gods. The holy mirrors are held in 5 shrines in the region. The 5 gods before leaving this land created these mirrors as a means of protecting the village. Some legends also speak of another mirror, a secret one, you could say. And the story is that all these 5 mirrors are used together in a ritual to fend off the huge disaster, with the author questioning if it's the calamity or something else. Now, Tomoe was rambling about a vision she had of these mirrors breaking, or so many people, and we know from an early note the calamity was an event that broke the mirrors, which let the dead return from hell. So if we find this legendary holy mirror, maybe we can put back the dead where they belong, in hell. Exploring more, Miku finds a room called the Fish Tank Room, wooden planks over lines of water. It's pitch black in here, and this is probably for food storage of fish. Walking across the planks and looking down, it's deep, dark water. A leak is dropping from the roof that echoes around the room. Miku then hears a sound and stops. Listening intently, it's a woman crying, and another woman madly laughing can be faintly heard. Then she makes out the sound of a voice saying, "Why?" The neck wound is still visible on her ghost. Fighting Tomoe, she's a very frustrating ghost, appearing in and out of walls in an area that isn't exactly easy to move around in. It's a claustrophobic, dark area, and she also has the paralyzing scream ability. Her ghost mutters about Kyrie and that Kyrie is coming and why a lot of whys, probably about the curse and the helplessness and despair she felt before her death. You will notice when getting grabbed, sometimes you can shake them off quickly or they won't fully grab you and you take less damage. Tomoe's spirit is particularly tough because she lowers her head a lot, which means you can't charge the camera meter. After a long, grueling fight and lots of healing used, with her last words being, "I didn't want to come." It's all just so sad, her fate and how her and Ogata have joined the dead spirits in mindlessly attacking anyone who lives and being in constant pain, especially for Tomoe, as she did also have the sixth sense to see the visions and the spirits.
Since we met that girl, I've seen many strange visions. All the ghosts in the mansion howl and scream at me. I don't think they'll ever let me out of this mansion. I don't even know how long I can hold on to my sanity. Anyway, I'm leaving this tape. If ever someone listens to this, please tell me what has happened to me. But still, I hope it's just a dream.
And they wanted anyone who found the tape to tell their ghost how they died. But you can't actually reason with their ghosts, they're just echoes of what they were, stuck forever in a time loop of the moments and actions leading up to their death. Miku picks up another scrap of Tomoe's, and from this we have the information needed.
A little girl in a white kimono keeps pleading to me.
I can't keep my mind focused, but her voice rings in my head and won't leave. But what does she want me to do for her? I can't even get out of this mansion anymore.
Broken. 5 pieces. The mirror. Tell Mr. Takamine the way to break the curse.
The way to break the curse does involve the mirrors, and sadly, as we have also seen Takamine's spirit, he must also be dead. Looking at where the dripping sound is coming from, we can see blood is making a red puddle in the middle of the water. After a lot of searching around and being lost because the solution was very, how do you say, not clear, for the first time in the game you have to actually use one of your items. To be fair, we did pick up this lighter just before the boss fight, but after reading the notes I completely forgot about that, and well, we've never actually used an item in our inventory for anything else. And with it, Miku goes to the lantern into the abyss and lights it up with the lighter. From the top of the lantern, it opens a slot with a stone inside with a strange character carved into it. We can't go any further into the abyss, but we do find a stone mirror. Now this little beaut is the best thing you can find apart from rare film. The stone mirror has a protective spirit in it that when your health goes to 0, it will just fill right back up. Basically a fairy from Legend of Zelda. I kinda kept forgetting I had one of these on me since you can only pick up one at a time and they break on use. As we head back to the atrium, a hanging woman appears on the tree with her spirit leaving behind a voice wondering where the children have gone. This sounds very similar to that news article which we know Long Arms took those children. We also now have the return of the broken neck lady and the jump scare animation played as she swings into view. I'm too quick on that camera. Defo shook me a bit though. You can see how good the paralyze upgrade is, letting you run away, charge up or run through the ghost to get a better angle. The amount of times I was quick turning thinking that's going to get me out of the camera view just to be hit was a lot in this game. We actually go back to the rubber room now, where the save camera is. That room being constructed post-calamity but never finished. Also, we hear a ghost whispering. Then a new ghost appears jump scaring you. She's called Blinded, and she's a woman with blood coming out her empty socket. Back in the stairway, a ghost of a decapitated head rolls up the stairs before coming back down to attack us. Her voice lines are almost impossible to make sense of, which I guess makes sense because she's a floating head. She doesn't exactly have vocal cords. And for some reason, this is one of my worst performing fight encounters in the game. So bad, my stone mirror activated. We eventually find the spot for the stone carving, and it's another one of the clock puzzles, a door in the fish tank room. On hindsight, it should have been really obvious this is where I was meant to go, but you can really lose track of what you were doing after having a tough battle or just taking a break. Interestingly, leads us to another outside area, with bamboo trees and leaves covering the ground that are also falling down. As Miku approaches a well, the lid moves with a voice crying out for help. Then we hear another cry for help, more clear this time. This is a ghost I missed, and afterwards it turned out to be in a window right behind Miku. Now there's no way on a first playthrough you're ever going to be able to get that because no one would look up and behind. On the well lid is another audio tape, this time a blue one.
September 12th, 3:20 p.m. I know this sounds crazy, but there's something here besides us in this mansion. I've seen it myself. It was a woman in a white kimono. Something is definitely happening here. Have we unknowingly awakened something? Or perhaps we've been lured here to die?
Once again, Takamine is discussing the white kimono and wondering if they had been lured to this mansion. Nothing too informative though, just more atmosphere building. Taking a picture of the well, we find a spirit called Girl Turning. The lore of this one is very dark, as this was Kyrie's servant, and she was thrown in here to die for the sake of secrecy. Very vague. Takamine's residual spirit speaks about him having the rope marks and needing to hurry. As Miku walks on through the bamboo forest, she senses a spirit nearby. Tomoe's voice is crying again and repeating the words to tell him.
Tell him what?
We have another boss fight with Tomoe's spirit, and you can probably see the pattern in this game that's forming. It's never just one boss fight with a ghost, there's always multiple. And here you'll see a different animation. Once defeated, her blue spirit goes into the camera instead of just exploding. This means this enemy will not return as an encounter, and it's been sealed in the camera. Tomoe's last thoughts are about telling Takamine about the mirror that will break the curse. Miku walks further on, and this night is really long, and we have very little film reel left. On a gravestone nearby, we find a black notebook scrap.
In the materials Tomoe gathered for me, there's a paragraph about 5 pieces of a mirror passed through the Himuro family for generations. These pieces were said to seal off the Hell Gate and protect the region from a great disaster. They might have something to do with the current hellish situation. 5 holy mirrors in shrines around the area all broke in a small earthquake the other day. When I heard about it, it gave me mine. I think I brought a news article about it with me when I came here. It says there were only 5 holy in existence, but according to some legends, there is another, the true holy mirror. The folklorist also mentions this in his research documents, the one I found here in the mansion. I think I dropped the research when I was trying to escape that cursed woman. Here are my theories. I think that the 5 mirrors that were destroyed in the earthquake the other day had the role of watching over the true holy mirror. I don't think it was the earthquake that broke the 5 holy mirrors in the shrines. I think it was the signal that the seal on the Hell Gate that the Himuro true holy mirror provides had broken for some reason. The 5 mirrors.
So we now know of something called a Hell Gate, which I mean the name implies what's stopping, and that the mirror pieces will seal this off. Since the mirror is broken, that explains hell being unleashed, though only in this area. We now come across a wide, long staircase with trees around it wrapped up in rope. At the top of the hill is a Shinto shrine called the Narukami Shrine. On the door of the shrine is a brand new puzzle with the carvings, and this one you basically move the stones to match the symbols for each, but you can only do 4 moves, then you have to try it again. Safe to say it's a lot of trial and error. Maybe that's the real horror. Eventually the door unlocks, and from that music change, this place can't be good for Miku's health. A statue is caged off and has its limbs damaged. This statue represents a guardian god. A large mirror is on the left and right side, one cracked, the other not. Foreshadowing maybe. And on an altar is another blue tape, and 4 Buddha statues with a pedestal in front of a small shrine.
Is she the one causing this disaster? All of those earlier deaths? Koji, Tomoe, all of them? Am I the next to die? The rope shrine maiden ritual, as told of in legend. Both arms, legs, and the neck. It is said when all 5 have been marked, the curse is complete. Ropes are beginning to appear on my photo. I'm running out of time.
The rope marks appear on the neck, both arms and legs, and then your time is up, and you will die very shortly from the rope curse, in which we saw as Kyrie herself appearing to strangle them with the ghostly ropes. After listening to the tape, we get that heartbeat and orange filament of a hostile spirit. And looking up, we can see a pair of legs. Then moving the camera, it's Takamine strung up to the ceiling, but he's been crucified. Miku, then looking around, sees his shadow is walking around the walls before finally appearing in a bloody, mangled ghost form, his limbs still in the position of the crucifixion. We actually run out and down the stairs to get some distance and not be trapped in such a small combat arena. Takamine has a lot more health than the other bosses of the ghosts we've encountered, and he teleports behind you a lot when you aren't looking. We defeat him a lot easier than the damn normal decapitated head, I guess. And the final picture shows a Shinto gate. This fight is actually the only boss battle, as the residual spirit goes into the camera and he speaks the last Buddha statue is
The Shinto Gate.
I'm about to go to the shrine deep within the Himuro mansion, where they say a piece of the true holy mirror is kept. The curse has already left its mark on my 4 limbs. There's no escaping it. But the only thing left now that I can do is try to reseal the Hell Gate. It's my last hope. I've already found 4 of the Buddha statues I need to get a piece of the mirror. And I've managed to find an old document that tells of the location of the 5th statue. Make observance to the Buddha at the base of the large gate, so that the souls of the piteous maidens can reach up to the heavens. If all goes well, no one will ever have to read these notes, and I can use them towards the content of my next book. In closing, I would like to thank my assistant and my partner, Tomoe Irisaka. If it weren't for the words she left with me, I wouldn't have been able to return. Please give her a decent burial. Signed, Junsei Takamine, September 15th.
From this we learn he was looking for the true holy mirror from the information he received from Tomoe. However, the curse has reached on all his limbs, and his last-ditch effort was to seal the Hell Gate. Luckily for us, he did find the 4 Buddha statues around. That's what's cool about this game. While Miku does a lot of stuff, a lot of the actions were actually done by other characters. So it's a lot less tedious than us having to go around and find all these statues around the mansion. Sadly, we couldn't give Tomoe a proper burial, and it seems the curse removes the body completely. Only the spiritual form remains. From the riddle, we find the Buddha statue at the base of the large gate, and the 5 Buddha document to bury the rope maiden spirit, place the 5 Buddhas with her damaged limbs, and we place the Buddha statue with all the injuries on them in the position of a body, and when it's in the correct position, it opens a lock, and the smaller cupboard shrine doors to reveal a piece of the holy mirror, but only one piece.
Just a piece of it.
As Miku picks it up, she sees a vision of explosion of bodies and mirrors shattering, exactly like what Tomoe saw. Miku then senses a presence behind her, and looking in the mirror, she sees that Kyrie has found her. Like something out of The Grudge, Kyrie slowly comes out the glass mirror, rope still bound to her limbs. With faces, hands, and bodies of cursed souls erupting from her back. She then glides towards Miku as we try to take a picture, but she's just too quick, whispering that she will make Miku feel her pain. Miku then opens her eyes as ghost children scatter and she's back in the doll room. But to her horror, she looks down and sees the ropes are bound on her hand, fading away to show the marks. She's been cursed by Kyrie with the rope curse. And now, she's on a time limit. Chapter 2, Demon Tag. Miku sees a ghost child in front of her holding her shard of the holy mirror.
That mirror. Give it back.
The ghost fades away with it. And not only do we need to find the rest of the holy mirror, but our shard we worked so damn hard to get has been stolen. So we're right back at square one. Taking a picture of the wall, it shows a scroll with a game of Demon Tag. Something noteworthy is the hole in the middle of the room is gone, as if it wasn't there, showing the mansion is reverting back to its original state on the day of the calamity. A kimono now lies there, and on top of it Miku finds a piece of paper. This one from Mafuyu. He's talking about how he must have passed out and he was too late to help Takamine. This confirms he did survive that encounter we saw in the prologue. In the background of this room, the sound has changed from ghostly chimes to the chanting of Kagoma. Kagoma is a traditional Japanese children's game. Leaving the doll room, we get the introduction of a horrifying ghost. We've only seen them before for a quick scare, but now the blinded woman turns round the corner, blood leaking from her eyes, complaining about how dark it is. You can instantly see how this ghost is exactly what the Kagoma song is about, a blindfolded person, in this case permanently blinded. They mutter things like there's no one here and screaming in pain about the removal of their eyes. This ghost is actually a very tough enemy as they have heightened hearing and will attack if you move near them, instantly teleporting and hurting you, unless you move very slowly, though staying still is the best tactic. I, however, completely forgot I could even move in the camera mode. As you can see, I just stand still a lot, so I accidentally didn't have an issue with them. But get used to seeing the blind maiden though, because she's going to be appearing a lot in this game, and even more than you would think. Unironically, she's the mascot of the first game. On the tree in the atrium is the spirit of a hanged woman.
My daughter. She was only playing demon tag.
So, something has happened during Demon Tag. In the burial room is a new scroll, the Blind Demon Ritual. On the 26th day of the 11th month, in preparation for the strangling ritual, 10 years later, choose a maiden with holy power. She should be past the age of 7 years, 9 months, and 25 days. And there's numbers in red, so we're going to have to use these to open doors. This being the second night, new stuff is in the rooms, and we will find more areas. Hearing that the rope shrine maidens are chosen at around the age of 7 is very grim though. It's basically choosing a lamb for the slaughter. In the rubble room, we can take a new picture, showing the well, but it's opened up. And we know where that was. Along the way, we go back to the stairway, and behind the corner, Long Arms has returned to the one responsible for spiriting away and killing the crawling girl. His voice lines are always begging for his daughter to be given back to him. We see his soul go into the camera, so that's actually the last of him. Back to the fish tank, one of the ghost children runs past, taunting Miku for being too slow. The door to exit this room has once again been sealed by the door puzzle, and we obviously have the document, so we quickly solve it. Now back at the well, compared to night 1, we can explore around the mansion and backtrack to areas much easier. You will notice that the mansion is never in day, it's stuck in a permanent long night. As we approach the well, we remove the lid and Miku peers down it. Hearing the sound of a child crying and seeing a grotesquely smiling little girl ghost crawling up towards her, with a disfigured, injured face. Their spirit is sealed after one fight, and their hitodama, which is their human soul, leaves behind a memory saying, Mikoto, hurry. Taking a picture of the well now reveals a horrible image of the ghost girl when she was alive, being dragged into the well by Long Arms, blood splattered on the stone, going by her ghostly injuries. This must have been quite a brutal death, being dragged across stone. It seems during Demon Tag, this girl hid near the well and was taken when the Long Arms ghost appeared. Broken neck lady appears when we go back to the shrine. There's nothing in here though. Once again showing the dangers of non-progression, but also a reward for more camera points when you find more ghosts. The Blinded is attacking us again, coming down the stairs. If you like Blinded Maiden, don't worry, we'll see her again, crying about her eyes. In the rubble room, we solve another one of the stone door puzzles, and a new part of the mansion unlocks, a massive, long, dark, but torchlit corridor. Seemingly endless from Miku's point of view. The atmosphere's thick here, we can only move forward and we can't see what's in front of us at all. We see a figure up ahead walking, and it's Bufuyu, but again he disappears. However, he has left a note. It reads, "The mansion has started to change as far as he can figure out. The ghosts are trying to pull him back into the past. The spirits are using their power to make parts of the mansion revert to the way they were in the past. The ghosts of that era are beginning to stir." Now this is very interesting as it's suggesting Bufuyu is in the mansion at the same time as Miku, but since it's changing constantly, we can't meet him. It's also reverting back to the time period that the spirits themselves come from. They want us to relive their past. But more ghosts from then are also starting to appear, like the Blinded Maiden. At the end of the corridor is a door, but we can't unlock it yet. Miku takes a picture and sees what looks like a gravestone near a wooden plank. Using that clue, we make our way to the abyss, and now we can progress further onto the wooden planks on the water. Attacked by a ghost asking for forgiveness, but he's not too hard to beat. He leaves behind sacred water, and this fully heals your health. Think of it as an elixir. We walk across the abyss and find a small island connected with the gravestone, getting another purple carved stone. Then when returning to the atrium, Miku sees herself being watched by the spirit of a man in the observatory attempting to walk up the stairs. The crawling girl comes out from under the porch. She isn't hostile this time though. Going back down the corridor, we can now use the stone carving on the door and go through it this time, and we're now in a large area that doesn't look like it belongs in a mansion. This place is called the Demon Mouth. Miku climbs down some long ladders. At the bottom is an underground area, with large fire torches in each of the corners, and a large circular ritual area in the middle. Miku picks up another scrap on the floor among the wood. It talks about the ritual masks and their meaning. In the Himuro rituals, masks play an important role. One of them is called the Blinding Mask, which is used in the Demon Tag ritual. 2 stakes pierce through the eyes of a blinding mask, while the demon is blindfolded, enter the rope altar and perform the ritual. This might mean that the blinding mask is a key to the rope altar. So we now know how the blinded probably lost her eyes with a mask with 2 stakes that stab into their eyes called the Blinding Mask. How they ever learned or thought about what this would be, beyond me. Just stab the poor lass's eyes out, that'll work. A spirit appears at the door of a man. Not Takamine, he never made it this far. Taking a picture reveals the mask with stakes in it in the photo. So we need to locate the blinding mask that was used on the Blinded Maiden. Ooh, speaking of, guess who's here? In an even smaller arena now, and she's right behind me, isn't she? After a few pictures, we defeat them. In the final photo, we see the candles in the burial room with only the red ones that are lit. So we head back down through the rubble room and get spooked by this random voice line. This one had me feeling sick with fear because I didn't expect whispering in my one ear. You can kind of see my reaction through the control of Miku, losing all sense of anything. The little girl in the kimono is once again telling Miku to hurry up, pointing to the candles. The candles are currently lit by a green flame. We have a puzzle where we have to turn it all off, but the red one in each different candle turns off a different one. It's a classic puzzle, mostly trial and error though. Solving it unlocks the red cabinet behind it, and inside is a scroll of Demon Tag. And Blinded Maiden is coming up behind us, literally never going to leave us alone. You can see what happens if you make too much noise. Insta-teleport and just damage. Miku goes back to the doll room and they stare at the dolls, but the crawling girl ghost is back to attack us. This night has had a lot more encounters than the first, and you can definitely tell that. Blinded Maiden takes up 10 in 1 minute. We have a stronger camera now, so it is less annoying. We seal her spirit permanently into the camera, taking a picture of the Kyrie doll. revealing a photo of the crawling girl when she was taken by long arms and grabbed into the wall. Now the demon tag scroll, we place it on the wall at the start and it opens to reveal a shortcut passageway into the kimono room. And we haven't been here in a while. The ghost child runs past and says,
Give this mirror to that man.
so while they're stealing from us, it seems like they had good intentions, but what man would they be giving the mirror to? As far as we know, it's only Miku and our Mafuyu in the mansion alive. So it could be Mafuyu. In this room on the mirror stand, we find an old diary in the drawer. This time a brand new author of notes called Lady's Diary Scrap. It reads, in June 18th, that camera seems to have some kind of uncanny power. It can capture things that aren't even there. Makoto begged me to let her have the camera back. I don't understand the things that camera captures. But she knew that she could never let Makoto see them, and she had to protect her because she knew something terrible was going to happen, just, a sixth sense. So she's clearly talking about the camera obscura, which seems to have belonged to this lady. In the lamp hallway, all the lights swing back and forth as if being played by a spirit. The ghost wails are even louder, and the mansion is really reverting back to that time period, looking more and more like it used to. Miku then hears a grandfather clock chime. And it opens up, and a ghost boy comes running towards her, laughing, holding up his arms. He's very fast, and he teleports into many places. One of the harder ghosts to keep track of in the game, even walking on the second floor randomly. We eventually catch him walking on the ceiling beams.
I have to give the mirror to that man.
Turns out this was the bugger who stole our holy mirror piece, so now we have it back, and that means we're right back to where we were at the start of this chapter. Progress, I think? Taking a picture of the clock shows the boy was also killed by Long Arms and dragged into a grandfather clock. Long Arms really got a high kill count in this game, which is interesting when we already beat him very early on, yet lore-wise he's pretty important. The ghost also leaves behind writing, speaking about how Makoto isn't going to come and find him, they were playing demon tag and she was supposed to be the demon. And if she likes him and if she ever finds him, she'll probably just ask her. It seems the clock ghost had a crush on Makoto. Walking across the second floor and into a stairway, another diary scrap is found. Makoto found an odd camera. She said she found it in the mansion when she was playing demon tag. He tried to ask her exactly where in the mansion it was, but she just kept saying a girl in a white kimono gave it to her. Wow, so that's the spirit who's been guiding us, and they had the camera, and for some reason they've been trying to get Makoto of all people to help them, presumably. Then in June 14th, he had a look at the camera his daughter had found, but he didn't see anything special about it, and he thinks it was probably left there long ago by someone who came to investigate the mansion. Then in June 15th, the weather was particularly nice, and Yae seems to be feeling better. The three of them decided to take a walk in the mountains, and Yae, his wife, hadn't been out for a long time. She seemed to really enjoy it. She had fun with Makoto's camera, taking pictures with her all day long. So the lady's diary is clearly written by Yae, as she has mentioned the camera having power and the stuff she sees, which oddly the man here can't see. Back in the rope hallway, one of the creepiest places in the game for me, a ghost of a skull with eyes called Vengeance is just staring at us from above. Capturing it breaks open a talisman, or in Japan an ofuda for us. And now back at the entranceway, there's some kind of smoke that seems to be coming out the hole in the middle. The entranceway is completely blocked off, and going up to it says the door won't open as it's sealed by a powerful force. Taking a picture of an object on the nearby wall shows an angry mask, but where will we find it? In the rope hallway, you can actually see a small window is up above. Then we enter the fireplace room and we start hearing music being played, specifically a Japanese koto string instrument. We don't know where it's coming from, so we head back to the doll room. And find a diary on one of the dolls inside a pretty box. It's written by Yae. June 10th, Makoto seems to really like this mansion. She's playing demon tag here with her neighborhood friends again today. And she thinks a big mansion is just a perfect place for kids to play. But Yae is also in a very sickly condition, and the mansion is a bit too big of a home for her. And on June 15th, she had a wonderful day with her husband and her daughter and took a walk in the mountains, and she's feeling pretty good these days. And she could walk for quite a distance, and she had a lot of fun. Now that we've learned a lot of people's names, this game actually has a correlation chart to help you keep track of documents and characters, so let's take a quick look at what we have so far. I love it when games do this because it makes my job a lot easier. In Takamine's novelist group, we have Koji Ogata, who was cursed and killed, and also Tomoe Hirisaka, who had the same fate. They were business partners to Junsei Takamine, who was also cursed and killed. This family tree will fill up the more documents you get. We go back now and the Koto music is still playing, and walking up the stairs, we see behind a lit screen is the shadowy silhouette of a woman playing the Koto. This is one of the most effective haunting scenes in the game. It's so entrancing, the music and the imagery. If we walk towards them, a harsh string sound plays and the music stops and the figure just instantly disappears, and now you're instantly under fight or flight. But luckily, nothing happens, and the woman, she never appears again. It's such a genius scare, preying on our anticipation, since in every other moment this would lead to a boss fight. And also our fear of the unknown, as we will never find out who or why the spirit was playing the Koto, or even how. My theory is it's Kirie's mother. Another glimpse into what was probably happening on the day of the calamity, now a haunting memory of an innocent moment before disaster. Miku finds another one of her brother's notes on the table, and he explains the tactic and how to deal with the blinded maiden by making less noise when near. I mean, I was accidentally most of the time doing this by just not walking, so from the observatory where Broken Neck Lady jumped, all we can hear is crows and the wind howling. The sky is pure darkness, no moon or stars. You could compare it to Yomi in Japanese mythology, the land of the dead, where it's just pure darkness. A blue soul is in a room is the man asking for his daughter Mikoto. Miku now needs to find a green key to open up a box. Miku unlocks a small door and crouches through, now at the top of a stairway on the mansion's second floor. However, it's locked and we can't progress. Entering back in, we now hear the sound of someone breathing in the left ear. Music is heard again, but opening the closet, there's nothing. Turning the corner, Blinded is back again and still complaining about her eyes. Photograph in the wall gives us a very cryptic clue, a gap in another wall that could literally be anywhere. Going back down the stairs, we're in the square hallway. The walls painted with blood and handprints, Miku thinking it was probably from long arms. The storeroom door is locked again, this time with a different puzzle combination than night one. Shockingly though, I guess in hindsight it makes sense, the gap in the wall is here. And a child ghost is staring at us from the other end. Before we head up to the new door, we do have the combination from the blind demon ritual document. And in the room, we get more resources. Then we head through the now unlocked new door and find a very interesting discovery. In this room is scattered photos and a gramophone. And Miku remembers something. We get a flashback to Miku in her house, looking at the camera and very similar photos her mother took.
They're exactly the same as the ones Mom took. Were they taken with this camera?
Beside them is more of Yae's diary. June 24th, Makoto was missing. She said she was only going to play demon tag here in the mansion. I didn't think she would have gone outside. And she had that camera with her. None of Makoto's 4 friends have come home either. It's if they've been snatched away by ghosts. I mean, whew. Don't know what to tell you. June 27th, it's been 3 days since Makoto was snatched away from her. Everything has been strange, and ever since they moved into the mansion, and ever since they got that camera, she feels she's losing her sanity. And if she did lose her sanity, she feels she would be free. She even says she can see them now, even without the camera. Wow, so Yae used the camera so much it's basically spiritually rotted her mind, unable to distinguish between the living world and the dead. To start being able to see ghosts without the camera is basically making her go insane. So is this what's going to happen to Miku, who's been using the camera a very long time, but it also is very necessary for her survival? Maybe Miku is just spiritually stronger. Broken Neck Lady is back to haunt us, and then we use the key on the safe and see Ryozo Munakata's memories. Arriving with Yae and Mikoto, his daughter.
The Himuro family's secret ritual because This blinding mask is the key to the door. The altar's got to be behind this door.
Talking about some masks, and the mask that must have been worn by the Himuro family master is called the Mask of Reflection. The legend goes it can become the face of an angel or a demon depending on the user, as its facial expression is said to reflect the nature of the one who is wearing the mask. Inside Himuro Mansion is the mask room. All the masks used for the ritual are kept, and the Mask of Reflection serves as its key. When worn by the master, it turned into the face of the demon at the last ritual. This suggests the family master always had bad intentions or had evil in his heart. And we know from early on they did massacre their entire family. The spirit of Ryozo tells us Yae took her own life due to going insane from using the camera. When opening the observatory now and staring at the tree, we can see Yae's hanging, swinging body. Close enough, welcome back Seiko Shinohara. This actually triggers a flashback for Miku, as it turns out her mother, Miyuki, well, she also killed herself by hanging from a tree in the garden. That's a grisly mirror to Yae, as Miku's mother was also using the camera obscura, and had just started seeing the spirits around her. Using this camera for too long decays your spirit and can cause you to seek death to escape the warping reality of constant ghosts.
Mom! Why? What happened?
Miku, looking down at the atrium tree, can see that a book is left behind where the spirit of that hanging body was. She then wonders if the owners used to look up at the moon from this observatory deck. But looking up at the sky, there isn't exactly a moon at the moment. Miku makes her way to the atrium and the cherry tree to pick up the book, and as she does, her spiritual spidey sense sends her back into the flashback of Ryozo finding his wife's corpse. He seems very distraught by this, as you can tell from his overly emotional voice. Yae's ghost is on the tree again, and it's now a hostile spirit that Miku mistakes for her own mother. This boss fight is hell itself, very fast, high health, sudden movements, and just a ton of damage. She also really doesn't want to show her face. Probably the most difficult fight in the game for me. Yae also goes on about wanting her daughter back, not realizing that she did come back safe and sound unlike the other kids. She also keeps wanting to tell us about how much pain she's in. Truly one of the most tragic ghosts, like they're all really depressing backstories and most are just innocent people. But she hung herself because she thought her daughter died and she turned out to actually be fine, but even in death she feels the constant pain and she thinks she failed her daughter. After a lot of health items and stones used, we managed to defeat Yae. I originally thought this was Miku's mum at first, to then understand after reading her death note, which is left beside the tree, which reads, "Dear Ryozo, it's all my fault. It's all because I let Mikoto use the camera that day. And now evil spirits have gone and taken her away from us. It's all her fault and she's sorry." I mean, it does make sense she blames herself because Ryozo didn't actually see the spirits. He didn't use the camera while she's been seeing them all around and knows what the camera is and knows how many spirits are all around her at all times. Only after her death and his daughter going missing did Ryozo understand the camera's power. The note also has a picture of Demon Tag with Mikoto playing and a picture of Yae and Mikoto as a family portrait. If we look at this photo, we can see it's her daughter and her clock boy playing tag. But in the background is the blinded maiden ghost watching them. Only Yae can see them though. And only after taking the picture. Back in the doll room, Miku notices some dolls are set up in the Kagome position. Interacting, a ghostly voice says, "Who is in front of the back?" I mean, it's quite simple. You literally just look at the back and what doll is in front of it. We pick the right one and take that doll, then place it on a pedestal to open up a compartment, with a strange mask being inside, the angry mask. Of course, Broken Neck Lady is here again. Then we head back to the entrance, getting jump scared by a falling rope. Then Miku places the angry mask on the stand and it opens to reveal a hidden passageway in a lot older looking area of the mansion. The photo shows a pillow of masks hanging around it, and Ryozo's spirit goes through a door with a different looking mask. When approaching the door, we can see it's a sad mask. The options are go through or take the mask down. If we take the mask down, the door no longer works, so we enter through into the place where that pillar resides. No masks are currently on it, but there is masks on the walls. Miku picks up another one of Ryozo's research scraps that explains about the masks and their role in the rituals. The blinding ritual and the demon tag ritual are performed by the Himuro family master. The master wears a mask where he performs the ritual to eliminate the maiden of all worldly connections. His theory was that the mask serves to eliminate the maiden's attachments towards her family. Gouging out the eyes of the demon in the blind demon ritual may also have a similar meaning. We start looking at all the masks on the wall to see if one can be removed. None can, but there actually is one mask on a pillar. And as Miku attempts to remove it, her sixth sense activates and a different mask on the wall calls to her.
What's that?
Yeah, I can see why Blinded Maiden is complaining all the time. We even see that the stakes aren't enough to kill them, it's just to blind them. Don't question how hard he placed that mask down because it would definitely kill them. Then the priest turns to look at Miku, creepily sensing her. Of course, Blinded Maiden is behind us now, in an even smaller location, so we have to run round the pillar as being our only way to escape. This being the 20,000th time fighting Maiden, I still lose a stone mirror, but we do manage to beat her again. And from that animation, she's still not gone. You can definitely critique about the lack of enemy variety. I mean, lore-wise, the ghosts all make sense, especially this chapter being about the blinding ritual. So it doesn't actually bother me too much, despite me complaining all the time, as I would always rather have enemies related to the story than just random ghosts that mean nothing. Saying that though, it's a bit too excessive how many times we've now encountered this ghost especially. But this feels like it would have been the ghost's perfect introduction to first fighting them. Maybe Long Arms could have been the previous fight instead. Maybe if they do a remake, immediately in front of her is another one of her brother's notes saying that Mifuyu felt powerful energy coming off the woman in the white kimono, and that she's probably the one behind the mansion's curse. Seems he's really on his own separate experience in the mansion, though strangely, he doesn't have the camera obscura. He dropped that and we picked it up. He also doesn't complain about any hostile ghost encounters. The next page reveals that Kyrie actually let him go, not cursing him or killing him, and because of that he's trying to find out what is keeping Kyrie's soul tethered to the living world and unable to move on. Miku now finds herself in a square outdoor garden area with a grass pot in the middle of a looping walkway, and also a stone monument that can be found looking like a grave in the center. On it, she finds a shiny gold stone carving. You know, we've done this enough times now to know what these stones do. And lo and behold, there's a door puzzle in front of us. This leads us into a very large, dark room, another one thick with a wailing spirit atmosphere. Just another great part of the sound design of Fatal Frame is the change in ambience. You'll notice the hostile areas with the most horrific history have louder wailing spirit ambience than others, such as the Grand Hall, the Shrine, and this room, known as the Buddha Room. It has very huge wooden Buddha statues that are found at the edges of the room, 4 in total. A table in front of a big shrine has a white mask called the Mask of Reflection, currently having a neutral, strange facial expression. The moment that mask is picked up, the torches of the room light up, and the ghost of Ryozo Munokata attacks Miku, calling for his wife and daughter. He has a lot of health compared to any other ghost we've fought so far, so we actually use our upgraded film stock to make this easier. His spirit doesn't get sealed, so we're definitely going to be seeing him again. Now, the Mask of Reflection is really useful for us, as it will copy the masks on the door, meaning we can remove the masks, take them, and then use the reflection mask to enter through any of the doors anyway. So Miku goes around, collects all the masks from the door, including the one we used to enter this passageway. I may have had a very long time forgetting about that and, being a game journalist for a bit. Then returning to the pillar, we place all the masks, and the sound of something unlocking is heard. And the door with the creepiest mask of all opens, and this room is the blinding room, where the blinded maiden is, well, blinded. It's in the name, it's in the game. Miku notes how beautiful this room looks. Then in a large wardrobe is the mask we've been looking for, the blinding mask itself, stakes included. This has gotta be one of the most horrific items in a video game. Eye stuff in horror is always the worst, so a mask that literally blinds people is so pure evil that you gotta wonder how they even came up with something so cruel. Back in the rope hallway, some cool environmental design is that the faded bloody handprints on the wall isn't actually an observation Miku comments on, it's just part of the visual design of the game. Coincidentally, a ghost we haven't seen before jumps out of that wall. Miku can also randomly shove ghosts off before losing health. I still don't know what triggers this. Maybe just running at the same time as an attack? Something very interesting about the rope hallway is that the ghosts actually cause the ropes to move, reacting as if it's a solid presence. Now making it back to the demon mouth, Ryozo appears one final time for another fight. This one on the walkways of the room, and yeah, this guy I'm glad he's dead because he's an annoying piece of spirit.
The blinding mask is the key to the door.
Well, that information is helpful as we are right beside that said door. And Miku approaches it, then hears the Kagome ghosts behind her. She turns around as they're about to grab her and nothing's there, but the chanting still goes on. Then the blinded maiden appears for the 100,000th time. The tactic to beat her still doesn't change, but she just has more health. Every time you encounter a story ghost, they do just get an upgrade in health to make the fight last longer. Finally though, after this fight, we seal the blinded maiden's soul into the camera and she's gone. Miku then places the mask like a key to open the door of Demon Mouth. As she does, she sees a flashback of Ryozo doing the same thing. As he does that though, Kirie's arms just grab him instantly from behind the door and drag him to his doom. He screams as the doors close, and I guess someone put the blinding mask back into the closet. Also, Miku having just opened said door, maybe she should, think of standing a bit further away, just as a precaution. She, however, just blindly watches the door open and walks through. Luckily, nothing happens to her, but how did she know that would happen? And it's opened to an underground passageway, Toji gates and rocks surrounding us. A bit further on, Miku actually finds the corpse of Ryozo still holding a piece of the holy mirror. As she touches the mirror, she sees the family master leading a maiden down this pathway and visions of the mirror exploding. Bodies lining the halls of the mansion, and the face of the maiden herself. Miku then slowly turns around and Kirie has found her. She runs further down the path, but then in front of her is a large mass of ghosts blocking her way forward. She frantically looks around, realizing she's trapped, and unfortunately for her, Kirie has once again caught up to her, grabbing onto her as the demon tag chapter ends. Chapter 3, The Calamity. This next night is called The Calamity, though I gotta say the wallpaper for this doesn't really represent what the chapter's about, having a spider web. It looks very generic, spooky haunted house, which is not what the tone of this chapter is about at all. We start seeing all the visions again, and the family master cutting down a man, and what could be the beheaded heads. Miku then wakes up, still alive, back outside the door of Demon Mouth. On her legs, the rope marks are there. Luckily, the door is still open, so we just walk on through. Ryozo's body isn't here anymore, but a ghostly photo can be taken of it. The spirits we almost walked into appear, and this is the first time we're fighting multiple ghosts at once. Charging up the camera is a lot quicker. Thankfully, they also have very little health, so it's not too much of an issue. Walking around the corner, Miku finds a caved-in dead end, but staring through a gap in it, she sees her brother is on the other side. On the ground is a document all about the calamity. There is no author of it. It reads, "The calamity in the year 1837 on the 13th day of the 12th month. The strangling ritual failed and caused the calamity. Malice escaped. 1,347 souls were lost." So all that ghostly wails you hear, that's all the 1,347 dead people crying out. With no path forward, Miku turns back and walks into the white kimono girl, who points towards a note on the ground and then disappears. She's like Batman. The book belonged to Ryozo, or the folklorist as he's called, talking about the Moon Shrine, the small shrine in the atrium of Himuro Mansion. It enshrines the maidens who were sacrificed in all the rituals. And inside the Moon Shrine is an empty well called the Moon Well. I mean, it's just such a creative name, could have never guessed that. The moonlight is said to shine down to the bottom of the well on the night of the ritual, and the rope shrine maiden purifies her body in the moonlight at the bottom of the well. There's also a passageway that is connected to the basement that only the rope maiden can use. Legend also says the first ever rope shrine maiden was buried in the Moon Shrine, but no one has ever found them. Leaving Demon's Mouth to find the Moon Shrine, Miku encounters another ghost on the walkway that appears to just be a big pile of smoke, invisible until the moment it's about to attack. Looking at the notes afterwards, this is an ancient ghost that's lost its form due to time. As ghosts get older, their form becomes less clear. It also appears to have come from the Hellgate from Hell itself, not part of the Calamity disaster or related to Himuro in any way. Now, to progress out the rubble room, we need to find the ghost of a crushed woman. This night is a lot more random encounters and ghosts than before. The new spirit we are following doesn't even speak and is just called Man in Atrium. The burial room torches are now lit up as green again. The candles themselves will actually stay lit if the spirits are unable to find peace. Thunder is heard constantly and lightning now strikes outside, and the door to what seems to be the Moon Shrine is locked, of course. And taking a picture shows the Buddha room. So going back through the shortcut, loud chanting can be heard, and on the steps of the altar is ceremonial sacred ropes tied to a pillar. And an old scroll, the document on binding. It just reads, "Show the maiden no mercy." I mean, well, they didn't mince the words. Cast the rope on her limbs from right arm to the other, and from the right foot to the other. Well, at least it's easy to understand. Miku now goes to the Buddha statues and notices they all have a different injury. The first one being the damaged right hand, so we follow the instructions and order and tie up the Buddha statues with the rope, the mark literally appearing as a rope on the statue when done correctly. Then the altar cupboard opens up at the back to reveal a teal carving that we can use to enter the Moon Shrine. Of course, picking this up, Miku sees back into the history with the priest running into the shrine with the family master chasing them down and cutting them down with a katana and decapitating them. He then turns to Miku and we have to fight the family master, one of the hardest ghosts in the game. He has 3 ghost heads orbiting around him that track onto Miku and float around, and if they're hit it causes her vision to be impaired, making the fight a lot harder. Thankfully, Ghost Blades seem to do less damage than normal ones. This certainly won't be the last time we see him. We make our way to the Moon Shrine door and solve the puzzle with the carving. Inside, it's quite large, and the infamous Moon Shrine is in front of us, which opens up to reveal just another book. It's kind of anticlimactic, honestly. But it's more of Ryozo's detailed research about the cabinet that we just opened and the Moonwell itself. The Moonwell locked inside the shrine is hidden with a trick mechanism. The cabinet moves and opens up the entrance to the Moonwell when a certain routine has been performed. but he doesn't actually know how to do that. The only description is to acquire the symbols from the 4 rope pullers and show the Himuro family master's seal. He then suspects that means the 4 priests who participated in the rope shrine maiden ritual. Though with no family of Himuro alive, he doesn't know how to get those symbols. Photographing the spiritual essence here shows the grave sites as pictures, so maybe they're buried there. One of the grave sites is actually right outside the shrine, and going up to it, we hear this.
Poor girl. It's too bad, but it must be sealed.
Showing that while the rope maiden ritual is horrific, it's technically the lesser of 2 evils, as not doing so would cause hell itself to leak out. We now fight one of the priests as a ghost, and from his injuries you can see katanas are stabbed into his chest and stomach. This ghost is the introduction to my least favourite mechanic in video games ever created, blue fire spirit flames that lock onto you and deal massive damage. But they take so long to get to you and you can't exactly outrun them, and they don't go away unless they hit you or eventually miss, though even missing they kind of just loop back and hit you. And in this fight I accidentally read a document, so ignore the fight for a second. It's actually the priest writing who Miku is fighting, and it reads, Kyrie has been acting strangely ever since she met the young guest. I do not suppose she is attracted to him. If she becomes too deeply involved with this world because of him, she may lose her potential as a proper shrine maiden, and they will have to do something quickly. So yeah, the shrine maidens need to be completely cut off from all attachments for it to go successful, though knowing this, they apparently let her keep meeting a young man. Probably not the smartest idea breaking one of the rules they have. Back to the fight, you'll see just how annoying those blue attack flames are, because beating him we get another picture and you can probably tell what the pattern is here to find the other 3 priests at grave sites. Back in the abyss, we can see Tomoe on the water wheel as a hidden ghost, and at the end of the abyss we find another priest. Now this priest, holy hell, so damn annoying. Headless, crying about his head because he was decapitated, of course, but also does have a head that just pops up, and that's the only time you can attack him, and also having sword slash wounds on his body. But like the other priests, he has those annoying blue flames that stun lock you. Different letters keep appearing for each priest after we take a photo. You can see just how brutal the flames are here as the voice cutscene locks Miku in place, but even past her feet those blue flames can still hit you. This priest's voice speaks of how the family master is the one who went insane and killed everyone, which we already knew. His writing I actually forgot to pick up in my playthrough, so we'll just show it here. He talks about how they followed the family master's orders and hid the guest, saying to Kyrie that he just left to go home, then revealing what hid means as they had to get rid of the body and carry it far, far away. Not particularly wanting to do it, but as the priest said, they have to protect the shrine maiden's lack of worldly connections. The next priest is in the square garden. We defeat him a lot quicker than the last one, but what's interesting is the spirit's voices of the priests actually seem to be talking to Miku herself.
Must seal it again before it's too late. Hurry!
Telling her about the family master and warning her she needs to seal the Hellgate. This differs from the other spirits that mostly have a voice line related to their last thought. This priest writing just tells us what happened. The ritual somehow failed, can't guess why, and the mansion was filled with something called the Malice. This is the force that turns people insane or just straight up kills them. And it's also the stuff that makes the ghosts hostile. It's basically the darkening for Fatal Frame. The Malice made the family master go insane and start murdering everyone, and this is what is called the Calamity. The priests are also worried about the gate and need to close it before it opens completely. So it didn't actually fully open, it's just more leaking out. We get attacked by a long-haired woman in the fish tank, another brand new ghost we haven't seen before. You know, for a ghost, she's kind of a baddie though, am I right? Near the well is the last priest, and by far the most annoying thing ever.
It's all over.
Instantly spawning those damn blue flame homing attacks, and you can really see here the full pain that is their pathing. Always orbiting around you, never actually getting close to you until you use the camera and you can't see them anymore.
When the calamity comes, we're all dead.
Beating him eventually, we find the last priest's writing, talking about how they thought the family master's decision was a poor one, as Kyrie had worked out they hid the guest. Now on the day of the ritual, Kyrie is depressed and anxious. I mean, it really was a bad omen for knowing this would fail, but also being unable to not attempt it because the outcome is worse if you don't. In the shrine, we also take a picture of Takamine again. Now returning to the moon shrine, we look at our photos taken of the order we fought the priests. They all have a different symbol, we solve the puzzle, and now the moon shrine panel raises up. Taking a photo of it reveals a big bloody pool leaking from a hole in the cabinet. We can now see the blood without the camera and it's on the ground. It leads out of the shrine and now Miku has to follow the blood trail through the mansion. A brand new ghost appears and the bone box in the burial room rattles. I run to the save room to escape the ghost, and the blood pool leads back to the grand hall. And then Miku sees a massive pool of blood on the floor.
Kyrie, the strangling ritual.
This is where the family master, after killing all the survivors of the calamity in the mansion, stabbed themselves to die as well. Of course, that means Miku is going to have to fight his spirit one final time, with the most health of any ghost we have seen in the game. His sword straight up locks onto you and basically just one-shots you.
This land is tainted now.
After defeating him, on the floor is the Master's Seal, and with that we can return to the Moon Shrine. On the way back, a ghost appears in the burial room again, so we run to the save room. And to our horror, the save camera is now a crimson red, not working, so nowhere is safe. And the ghost appears in this room, we try to leave, we get hit by a random blue flame, then get hit by 3 in a row. This ghost has the most blue flame attacks of any ghost, and it's the Wandering Monk. His story was he came to the mansion trying to exorcise the spirits here, was killed by the ghosts, and became one of them. The note implies he's friends with a monk into darkness that we found earlier. Now in the Moon Shrine, we place the Master's Seal, and it slides open to reveal a ladder that goes downwards.
Down here?
Miku climbs to the bottom of the well and surprisingly finds torches lit and the sound of dripping water. And then she spots the first shrine maiden's mummified skeletal remains tied up in a hollowed rock in the wall. With only her head and no other limbs, a piece of the holy mirror is right under her corpse. As Miku picks up the mirror, she sees the rope shrine maiden ritual. And then turning around, sees Kyrie has once again followed her. This time, Miku starts climbing up the ladder as Kyrie follows, because if she's caught now, she would succumb to the rope curse and die. As she almost slips getting to the top, the white kimono spirit reaches out a hand and pulls her up.
Please make it stop.
Chapter 4, Kyrie. Miku wakes up in the Koto room where that music was playing, and we see that window was from the rope hallway to this room. The white kimono spirit points to a desk, and on it is the old Koto sheet music. Miku then actually goes over to the instrument and actually knows how to play it. And in doing so, she opens up a passageway into the wall. This passageway leads to an attic. And peering through the light on the roof, she sees holy shit, that's an evil one. And yes, it's the floating head, decapitated ghost that scared us, is very easy to beat, and is permanently defeated. Thank you, game. Miku then peers through another hole in the wall, and she sees Kyrie, but not her hostile spirit, an actual memory of her, crying at a mirror in the anteroom. We then go through a small door, and Miku finds herself out of the attic but onto the beams above the Buddha room, where she finds Type 90 film, the strongest in the game. A hidden ghost of Truthbinder is found on the altar, and that's actually the face of one of the developers. Across the beams through a door is a brand new area, and it's a secret dungeon. Miku then sees the white kimono girl is enshrined in ropes in a cell cage. We enter the cell, and the spirit isn't there, but many documents are, and they all are Kyrie's diary recounting her last moments before the rope shrine maiden ritual. It reads, "The strangling ritual will be held soon. The master and the priests are performing their ablutions, basically ritual purification, and it looks like the whole family has gathered here at the mansion for the ritual." Kyrie notes how the mansion is usually so lonely, but for today it's bursting with life. And one of the priests was actually staring at her, and he looked very sad. But she's confused by this because she feels as the rope shrine maiden, it's a very important obligation she has to fulfill. But she's also torn because how can she perform her duty as the shrine maiden now that she feels the way she does, now that she's found the true joy of living, and now that she's gone and gotten that poor man involved. So this reveals a lot, especially about the mentality that is forced upon the shrine maidens to basically welcome their own torture and death, keeping them locked and isolated from all but the priests for 10 years to sever their earthly, worldly connections. We can see from her mentality here, she came to believe this was her purpose, but she's in turmoil because of that man she met if we go by the priest's ratings. Miku then picks up Kyrie's golden, beautiful hairpin. This causes her to see a vision of the past again. Kyrie is outside beside some trees and meets a young man. Brief, sweet, and very different from the horrible visions Miku has seen so far. Miku actually mistakes that man for Mafuyu, as they look very similar. Then wonders if this was the man Kyrie loved when she was alive, though that would be a very short falling in love period. Looking around Kyrie's cell, she does have a window, so she did have some light in the cell. Then another piece of her diary is found. It reads, while she was looking out the window today, she saw somebody walking in the garden. He didn't notice her, he just kept walking around leisurely, gazing at the trees and hills. Then she sees him again today, walking in the garden. But then he saw her and waved to her. She doesn't know why her face got so hot and ducked out of sight. When she told the chief priests about it, they were terribly surprised and told her she wasn't to look out the window again for a while. The next bit of diary adds on to this, saying he came to see her again today. The chief priest said we mustn't go out in the garden, so they just stayed in the room, the cell I'm guessing, and talked. He told her so many interesting things about the outside world, and she feels so happy when she's with him, so very, very happy. She then walked in the garden with him again today, and how beautiful the cherry blossoms were. He's taught her so much since they've met, and she never even feels lonely anymore. We exit the cell, and once again, the white kimono girl leads Miku but says, "Please stop me." Miku walks past the mirror and fails to notice Kirie herself is coming out of it. We are now chased by her and run down the stairway. The color has been drained from the game and it's a lot harder to see, but when we make it to the door, she disappears and the color turns. Miku once again finds herself in the Buddha room, finding documents from the priests. The priest's manual reads, "The gate is the entrance to the land of the dead. It has been feared and revered since ancient times. If the gate's seal fails, the calamity will occur and malice will pour out from hell. The souls of those touched by the malice are bound to this world and cannot be saved. We must prevent the calamity at all cost. That is the duty of the Himuro family." So this explains why they will do such cruel rituals. It's their duty to prevent the calamity. It's why they clearly built such a large, maze-like mansion on top of the Hellgate and the shrines, so they could perform these grisly, cruel rituals in secrecy. More scrolls talk about the mirror. The holy mirror blessed with the 5 gods' protection, and it repels disaster. When the gate opens, stand before the mirror rock, which is in front of the gate, and point the mirror at the gate, then seal it with the maiden's rope. All elements mentioned above must be present for the ritual to succeed. Then more about how any measure must be taken to prevent calamity as it's God's given duty of the Himuro family. It's a lot more complicated than just evil priests torture and kill girls to seal a gate. You can tell the priests are conflicted between what they do and what they must do as duty for the greater good, which might explain why they were wary of letting Kirie talk to the man and ultimately kinda murdered him, but they didn't stop it right away, letting Kirie have some happiness. It's a very morally grey story. As we can see, the calamity wasn't just a fool's tale, it actually happened when it failed, especially when hearing that if the malice touches souls, it's all over, there's no saving them, or what they thought back then. So in their minds, it's one life over thousands or even the whole of humanity. Now, how they knew to do these rituals in the first place is ancient lost knowledge, which might also explain why this one failed. They understood that earthly connections had to be severed, but also got their knowledge passed down through generations, which simply just said instructions. Then when Kirie formed an attachment, they realized how compromised it all was and killed her lover in secret, thinking it would fix it. This is further given evidence in the next manual that tells us no documents record the history of the gate in the mansion's basement. Just that they built a shrine on the land and performed the rope ritual, and that is the duty of the Himuro family. Miku then goes back to the anteroom through the tiny door that Kirie must have gone through. Now knowing the history behind this room, that ghostly sigh we hear must have belonged to Kirie. And in front of the cabinet is a large and small doll that look exactly the same as each other. And of course, there's another piece of her diary. And it's been 5 days since that man stopped coming. When she asked about it to the chief priest, they just told her that he'd gone back to his home village. She wonders why he would leave all of a sudden just like that. Obviously she will die and he won't be able to see her anymore. She then, that night, has a dream about him, and he was looking at her with such sad eyes, looked like they wanted to tell her something. She knows then that he didn't go home, but the priest had done something to him. This is most likely his spirit trying to communicate with her, but it's really just ruined the priest's entire plan. The next page is when Kirie understands that it was because of her the priest had him hid. She wouldn't probably be able to do the Shrine Maiden ritual if they hadn't. She now on her last days is blaming herself for all that's happened. Kirie then eventually realizes he's been killed, and her last note is about how she just wanted to be with him forever and ever. That's all she wanted, and she didn't want him to get hurt. Now interestingly, in the Xbox version of the game, there's a new character added in, or spirit, I obviously didn't play this version, so I'm just going off other footage and notes, but he was called Tokitada Kiyuki, and he was a samurai who was at one of the previous rope rituals, as any person at the mansion did have to witness the maiden being led to the strangling ritual rope altar room. However, he fell in love when seeing the maiden once and attempted to stop the ritual. He obviously failed and had to commit seppuku for dishonoring himself. His spirit then visited Kyrie while she was alive in a dream, telling her to break the holy mirror so the seal would fail and the girl he fell in love with in 1 second who never knew him would be free, as Kyrie and him relate as they have a lost lover they knew for a very short amount of time. At least the other one was mutual, however shockingly he never saw his one-sided lover spirit again, and is a boss fight in the Abyss. The note even says that spirits would try to break the seal from hell itself. Speaking of the Abyss, we go there and the blue filament lights up the spirit nearby, and it's the spirit of Kyrie's murdered love, blood leaking from his mouth and a chest wound where he was stabbed. His body must have been dumped into the Abyss. If we go to the end of the Abyss, we can actually find the ghost of the burdened man, once again one of the dev's real faces. He was the one who hid the body of Kyrie's lover, clearly in the Abyss waters, but he was also in love with Kyrie himself. He also was murdered himself to protect the secret of the Rope Shrine Maiden. So with everything learned, we go back down to the Moonwell. And in the Xbox version, there's a very important note for the story on the Moon Shrine steps that explains the POV of Kyrie's lover and what happened. It reads, "Walking through the courtyard, I saw a woman in a white kimono by the window. I waved to her and I thought she was looking at me, but she hid herself. I have been staying in this mansion for quite some time now, but have never noticed that she lived here at all. When he peered out the window of the guest room, he saw the same woman again in the white kimono, but she was walking to the courtyard by herself. So he naturally goes outside too. He finds out and talks to her that her name is Kyrie and that she lives inside the mansion. He's kind of smitten already and wants to visit her sometime. So he does visit Kyrie's room and is shocked to find out she's in some kind of prison cell. So he took her to the courtyard and they walked a bit together. He then tried asking the servants about Kyrie, but they wouldn't tell him anything. The priests asked her not to take her outside, but he did it anyway and he snuck her out to the courtyard. She then tells him that she's never been outside of the mansion. He wants to show her a whole new world in the outside world. For some reason though, her face remains sad, which confuses him. The priests of the mansion then tell her he's not allowed to visit Kyrie anymore. He asks him why, and the priest tells him that she's become too sick to have any visitors. He's shocked, he asks about her illness, but they won't tell him anything. He then asks several times for permission to visit her, but they don't allow him to. When he tries to approach the cell, he gets turned away by guards. They even threatened his life was in danger if he came back again. He wonders what's happened to her, and then, despite that threat, thinks of sneaking back into Kyrie's room tonight and that he doesn't care what danger awaits him. And obviously we know what happens. He was kind of told he would be killed if he did that, and he was murdered and thrown into the abyss. Though it is kind of wild that this wasn't in the first version of the game. I'm glad they added on to the lore, but it's really kind of necessary for truly understanding what went on with Kyrie and her lover, and why Kyrie's lover ended up being murdered. Miku goes back down the well and uses the hairpin on a slot in front of the remains of the first Shrine Maiden. Doing so opens a door, and it's an underground pathway with sacred ropes wrapped around small pillars. An earthquake rumbles and the cave shakes as Miku walks on a narrow pathway across a dark abyss and sees what happened here in a vision long ago. The entire Himuro family members and guests are walking on this very pathway, and it was called the Hell Bridge. And then we're immediately thrown into a fight with just two random ghosts. Defeating them seals them in the camera. This fight is very tough though, with the ghosts going into the walls constantly and they kind of blend in because there's not much to the background. Then Miku finds a note on the ground from Mifuyu, but this time it's directed to her. It reads, "Dear Miku, I know it's weird, but I see you sometimes here in the mansion. I run after you, but I always end up losing sight of you. So there must be some kind of warp in time here. He's worked out the force behind the curse of Himuro Mansion is a woman named Kyrie, and she was sacrificed in a ritual. And her sad spirit was exposed to the malice that spilled out from hell when the calamity happened. Now she's a miserable creature that taints everything she comes into contact with, and apparently she is reminded of her past lover. Apparently Mafuyu reminds her of the man she was in love with. It's probably because they look almost identical, as even Miku mistook this man for her brother. He somehow knew that when she touched him. He plans on going to see her now, as if he doesn't, this mansion will keep on claiming victims. Kyrie laments her ill-fated life, but at the same time she also regrets not having been able to fulfill her duty as the Shrine Maiden. He saw the image of Kyrie as a child, and she was looking for somebody to help her other tortured self. So the young white kimono spirit is the pure version of Kyrie, being represented as her past self who has been guiding Miku, wanting her to help close the Hell Gate. Previous to this, I guess she tried with Mikoto, the really young girl, and then Tomoe to help seal the Hell Gate. He then tells her that he wants Miku to help Kyrie, as if you can seal off the Hell Gate with the Holy Mirror. Miku then opens the door and instantly sees a vision of the strangling ritual of Kyrie tied down to a circular altar, being turned by wheels pushed by the priests to tighten the ropes, strangling Kyrie till their limbs are ripped off. The priests then take the blood-soaked rope, spiritually powered by Kyrie's blood,
Stop.
Miku awakens from the vision, and a rope shrine maiden spirit is now attacking her. It mostly just crawls on the ground. After defeating it, we look around the ceremony room, and the wheels are attached to the ropes, and the altar has a large red stain of dried blood from the various rituals covering it. Miku then exits through the next door and finds herself in a hallway of just torii gates, or Shinto gates, wrapped in sacred ropes, resembling the rope hallway. So maybe the rope hallway was just meant to represent this pathway. The baptism path, it's called. Another previous rope shrine maiden spirit comes crawling up behind us. She's very quick, but if you aim the camera on the ground multiple times, you can get rid of her. Miku finds one more note from Mafuyu on the ground. It reads, "I've been thinking about the camera Mum left us. I know it was Mum's, and she left it to us when she died. It used to belong to Grandma Mikoto. They say it was the only thing Grandma brought back with her when she was adopted by the Hinasaki family. And then they found out that Mikoto's mother, the folklorist wife Yae, died in the same way their mom did. We then open the last doors and walk through, and Miku sees a vision of the Himuro family and the priest gathered here carrying the ropes, approaching the Hell Gate itself. They attempt to seal the gate with the ropes, and these are the chants we heard in the Buddha room. But the ropes break and it fails, causing the gate to open and the holy mirror facing it to break into pieces. Malice comes bursting through the gate in a force that kills many on impact, including burning them like some of the ghosts we saw, or the force causing parts of the mansion and caves to collapse, crushing them like another ghost we saw, the crushed woman. Most of the family in front of the gate lay dead, others went insane and found ways to die themselves, like the broken neck lady. Many bodies lay on the bridge, and through the cavern and inside the mansion. Some of the priests actually start getting up, but so does the family master with his demon mask, and we know he went insane from the malice and went and killed all the survivors with his katana. So it's not sad, but I feel like if you're more spiritually gifted, you survive the malice, because the priests were right in the same position as all the other family members who died in impact, and they mostly survived before being killed by the master. Miku can't actually go any further because of the force of the malice itself that is coming out of it, so she approaches with the stone where the holy mirror is placed, but she doesn't have the full mirror. She does see Mafuyu and calls out to him.
Mafuyu!
Kyrie then appears and wraps her arms around him, and he seems to be in a trance. Mafuyu is currently trapped in the malice form of Kyrie, and then the final fight begins. You can only damage Kyrie if the camera is fully charged. She's actually quite a slow ghost though. But she will cause an earthquake, shaking the screen and basically shaking your controller, which makes it a lot harder to aim. Having saved the Type 90 film for this final boss, it really wasn't as hard as I was predicting it would be. As Miku takes the last picture, the camera obscura explodes in her hand, knocking her down and seemingly unconscious for a bit. She wakes up no longer having the camera in her hands obviously, but does spot a piece of it in front of her with something shining in it. As the younger spirit of Kyrie points towards it, and it's the last piece of the holy mirror that was in the camera the whole time. We have to run and find it on the ground while Kyrie is chasing us. Then the mirror forms back into one, and Miku places it to face the Hell Gate. The mirror power purifies the malice form of Kyrie.
Mafuyu, thank goodness.
Don't forget your duty.
My duty is to keep this gate closed. Leave this gate to me. The rest of you, hurry and escape.
But what about you?
I must stop the calamity, or else it will happen again. Don't worry about me. You must go.
Sealing the Hell Gate is causing the mansion to shake with earthquakes, and then Mafuyu does the dumbest thing in history.
Mafuyu, come on!
Miku. I must stay.
But my dude, you are a live person who has just spent the whole game trying to find you and bring you back, and you're gonna ditch your orphaned sister for this girl who died ages ago and is a dead spirit.
What are you saying?
Yes, Miku, that's a realistic reaction. What on earth is he saying?
I think I can help her.
So yes, while it's implied Kyrie is having trouble keeping the gate closed, Mafuyu just decided it's his role as well now because he looked like a past lover she knew for a week. I mean, that's one way to throw your life away.
You go on without
A
me.
rock seals Miku and Mafuyu off from each other. Then we get a voiceover of him trying to explain his decision.
Miku. The whole time Kyrie was guiding me, I could hear her screaming. Screaming for help. As the rope shrine maiden, she was destined to seal the gate. Yet she also wanted to be with the one she loved. But she couldn't have both, and was being torn apart by those two feelings, which resulted in the calamity. Her spirit was touched by the malice, and she became a creature that wanted to make others suffer as she had. Now free of the malice, she is about to fulfill her duty as the Rope Shrine Maiden. Her soul must remain here, keeping this gate sealed off for all eternity. All alone. Endless pain. As long as she is free of pain, as long as she is not left hopeless, I wish to be by her side. Miku.
So yeah, it's noble and all, but like, does he just die from being crushed and then become a spirit beside her, or like what? You left your orphan sister alone for this. I mean, it only affected the mansion. This curse wasn't even that bad, really. Like, sure, that souls wouldn't ever find peace. Miku then wakes up and is outside the Himuro mansion, now reverted back to normal. She gazes in wonder as the souls of all who've died lift up into the sky as blue spiritual lights, now free from their torment and pain, finally being able to pass on.
Their souls are all going back to where they belong.
Miku. I now realize why I was brought here. And I will accept this destiny of mine. Miku. Thank you for everything.
Ever since that day, I stopped seeing things that other people don't see.
It's a bittersweet ending. Miku failed in saving her brother, but she did free all the souls, they closed the Hell Gate, and she lost her sixth sense. Now able to live a normal life. But this is a franchise, and while I don't know anything about the next games, I very much doubt this is the last time we see Miku, knowing franchises and OG characters and how they always love bringing them back. After beating the game, you get a rank based on score and time. Now it says 18 hours, and I'm gonna say right now, I left my game on while editing other stuff. That is not how long this game took me. 12 hours probably, and that's because I got lost a lot. Before we go on though, this game has what on the channel we like to call wrong ends. One wrong end is if Kiria gets to you in any of the chase sequences. A small cutscene plays of the ropes tightening around Miku and she dies from the curse. The other wrong ends, however, are technically bonus endings, and they're also a lot more hopeful and happy than the true end. The first ending is completely the same as the normal one, except Mafuyu grows a brain and runs with Miku to escape the collapsing caves and mansion. Then they both watch as the souls pass on, while Mafuyu basically says the same thing, except he's now with his sister escaping. He also does really rub in that Kirie will always just suffer and really emphasizes that point.
Kirie. She was always struggling for life. Her soul must remain there, keeping the gates sealed off for all eternity. She had to sacrifice everything. These souls may rest in peace, but her soul will always suffer. Forever and ever.
So technically it's a happier ending for Miku, but not for Kirie.
Ever since that day, we stopped seeing things that other people don't see.
The Xbox version has its own unique ending that is happier for both. It cuts to the credits immediately after Kirie ties herself to the gate and shows on photographs Kirie talking, telling Mafuyu and Miku to leave the mansion, with them running in the rope hallway as it falls apart, but reveals that Kirie's lover's spirit has found her. They hug, and she won't be alone in holding the gate closed forever now. It's a really good ending, but not having it be a cutscene for a port is kind of lame. This should have been animated. Now that the game is done, Since that was a lot of information, let's do a quick recap on what we have learned and bonus research to fully explain the story and lore of Fatal Frame 1 as simply as we can. Long ago in ancient Japan, they discovered something called the Hell Gate, the entrance to the land of the dead, and every 10 years, this would begin leaking out this evil force from hell itself called the Malice. The Malice either killed, cursed, or drove anyone insane who came into contact with it. It would corrupt dead spirits into hostile ghosts, who were in constant pain and suffering, with their only release being to share their suffering and pain with anyone they came into contact with, ultimately killing and turning them into the very same vengeful spirits. The Himuro family built a temple over this mountainous land, which was protected by 5 Shinto shrines in the surrounding areas, with mirrors in them, and these shrines represented the 5 gods. Eventually, this temple over time became a large mansion, the Himuro Mansion, and this hid the secrets of what the family were doing to seal the gate, the 3 rituals. This was what the Himuro family saw as the God-given duty. How this knowledge of the rituals was learned is lost to time, passed on with only instructions of each generation of the family. The first ritual done is the blinding ritual, which uses the blood of the maiden with a mask to weaken the Hellgate spirits, and the maiden will be taken to the blinding room by the priests, kneel down in front of a ceremony master, who then takes the named blinding mask with wooden stakes in the eye, place it on the chosen maiden's eyes, stabbing into it, and blinding her but not killing her. The mask would then be used on a door with the blood to open the passageway to the Hellgate from Demon Mouth. The blinded maiden would be chosen in another ritual that was created afterwards to create the next maiden, called the Demon Tag ritual. This was performed every 10 years in November since the last sealing of the Hellgate, where girls above the age of 7 years, 9 months and 25 days are gathered in the mansion in the Demon Mouth room to play a game called Demon Tag. The blinded maiden would be the demon, and obviously blind, try to find the children who were running around and hiding in the small area. The family would watch in the rafters above. The first girl found would be the next blinded maiden, and the last girl that was found would be the next rope shrine maiden, as she was spiritually the strongest to have avoided the demon the longest. The rope shrine maiden was then isolated in a special cell hidden in the mansion with no access to the outside world for 3,669 days to remove all earthly connections, like their family, and the only visitors they had was the priests, but wearing masks so they couldn't see their faces. Then 10 years later, on the 13th of December, the chosen maiden was to enter the moon shrine to purify herself. Then the priests and her would enter the rope altar room through different passageways. She would be tied to an altar, ropes and her limbs attached to the wheels, and then the priest and the family master would turn to tighten the ropes, strangling the maiden and killing her, most times tearing off their limbs. The blood-soaked ropes would then be wrapped around the Hellgate to seal it until the next 10 years, where the spiritual power of the rope would weaken. The whole Himuro family line would witness this. The Hellgate had its malice trapped by the holy mirror blessed by the 5 gods that faced the gate on a rock. The first ever shrine maiden is actually buried and enshrined at the bottom of the Moonwell. In 1827, a girl called Kyrie was chosen as the rope shrine maiden. 10 years later, in October and November of 1837, a man would stay as a guest at the mansion, meet Kyrie, help her out her cell, and both fall in love with each other. He was then murdered by the priests when he attempted to sneak into her room after being forbidden to. The priests lied that he had just left, but his spirit visits Kyrie in a dream, and she's torn between her duty of being a rope shrine maiden and the guilt and longing to be together with her lover. Kyrie was then killed in the strangling ritual in December 1837, but since her mindset was torn between duty and love, and her connections weren't properly severed, when the priests used the ropes to seal the gate, it didn't work. The Hellgate opened slightly, which caused a large amount of malice and ghosts from hell to escape and spread through the mansion. The holy mirror was broken from the impact into 5 pieces, symbolically the 5 limbs of the shrine maidens. Those not killed by the malice went mad or were then murdered by the family master with his katana, who went insane and hunted the survivors, beheading them before killing himself in the Grand Hall after realizing what he did. 1,347 people were killed within Himuro Mansion. That was called the Calamity. The malice didn't spread past the mansion because of the other 5 shrines that had their own mirrors stopping them. The mansion itself, though, was now haunted by all the spirits of those who died there and those that escaped from hell. Kirie's soul was touched by malice, broke apart, and a younger version of herself in the white kimono being her pure form, and an evil malice-filled older version seeking to cause the same death and pain she felt on others. Then years afterwards, a folklorist called Ryozo Munakata and his wife Yae, and young daughter Mikoto moved into the mansion while Ryozo researched the Himuro family. Mikoto was actually given the camera by the pure soul Kirie. She then plays Demon Tag, which was based on the ritual but was now just a normal game of tag with the local children. The long-armed ghost takes and kills all the children but Mikoto. Yae goes insane from seeing the ghost and uses the camera obscura and ends up hanging themselves. Ryozo opens the demon mouth but is killed by Malice Soul Kirie. Mikoto then returns and is adopted by a man called Mr. Hinasaki. The mansion is once again abandoned, and in 1986, decades later, people report hauntings and mutilated corpses that are found nearby. Then an earthquake happens that destroys the 5 mirrors in the surrounding shrines, most likely caused by the hostile spirits behind the leaking Hellgate now building up enough spiritual power to cause the quake. This eventually catches the attention of Junsei Takamine, a famous novelist who wants to do a story there, and brings Ogata and Tomoe with him to investigate the mansion. Because the mirrors had been broken, the malice and spirits could now manipulate the mansion to trap anyone who entered, and Kirie could curse them with the rope curse. The mansion itself was now closed spaces, and time was being manipulated back to the events of the calamity. The research group was slowly cursed and then killed. Then Mifuyu finds out they went to the mansion, goes there, Kirie finds him but keeps him alive and protected from the hostile spirits since he represented her lost lover. Miku then goes and finds Mifuyu, finds the research team, exorcises the spirits of them. With the guidance of pure soul Kirie, finds her brother, defeats Malice Kirie, repairs the holy mirror, and then the rope shrine maiden spiritually keeps the sealed Hellgate closed forever. With Mifuyu, who stays behind with her and was most likely crushed, then became a spirit to help ease her pain and suffering. Miku loses her brother but saves all the spirits and then stops seeing the spiritual world, and that's the story of Fatal Frame 1, fully explained. And after completing the story, a new game mode actually opens up, and it's called Battle Mode. And it's just kind of waves and missions fighting hard ghosts that you get ranked on, depending on how fast you beat them and the score of your pictures. It's a fun game mode if you just want to battle ghosts and practice combat, and beating all 20 missions also gives you upgrades to your camera, like being able to zoom in, and costumes that you can use on your second playthroughs. And this game really wants you to replay it on harder difficulties to unlock costumes for Miku, with some of them being completed in 2 hours to get the last few costumes, which is kind of weird having unlockables be, costumes. Because by the time you've gotten them, you've already played through the story many times and done all the missions, so it's really not like you're going to use it very much. There's also my favourite thing in the game, the spirit list. Not my favourite to complete because you have to get all those blink and you miss it cutscene ghosts, which thankfully we now exist in the time of the internet and can just look it up. But this spirit list will tell you how the ghost died and a bit more lore about them, so it's actually a fun unlockable. Just not fun to unlock, and I'm never going to attempt that. Completing the game on higher difficulties is how you get the other endings. And in conclusion, Fatal Frame 1 being my first full Fatal Frame game, I went in with expectations of people have recommended this to me a lot after I asked what game franchise to cover after Corpse Party. And I've always been interested in this franchise, so I did think I would enjoy it. But I didn't expect to fall in love with the game and its story and its gameplay. But now I can't wait to see where this franchise ends up, playing through the originals and the remakes, and hopefully we don't have a Corpse Party blood drive situation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will absolutely be covering the entire franchise eventually on this channel, though this was the scariest game I've ever played personally, and if the next ones are just as scary, then I'm in for a sickening, yet probably fun time. Thank you to everyone who watched, and if you would like to support the video in another way, you can join my YouTube membership or Patreon with a link in the description, and get your name appearing at the end of the video, or depending on the tier, a vocal shout out, and access to exclusive bonus videos for every paid tier. This next bonus video is continuing with the Fatal Frame theme, and it's going to be on the movie, because yes, this game has a movie. That movie, however, is absolutely nothing like the game. Last bonus video was on the Corpse Party anime, and that was very well received, so I hope you enjoy this one as well when it's out. So if you want to be able to watch that when it releases, you can check it out in the description or right at the end of the video a link to my YouTube membership or Patreon. And speaking of, a vocal shout out to the horror game protagonist here, Luna Verity, Joan Stone, Frank and Beans, and Monstrance Clock. And finally, a vocal shout out to the hero and heroine tier. And those people are Jack Xiao Long, Bala Bill, Tiso, Audris, Backwas, Melanie Freen, USA 1chan 1, Aiko Katsuro, Isaac, Kasane Rose, Ale Humano, Yuvia Muzu, Daria Galkova, Brooke Ramage, and Leah. I'm also going to just be uploading the director's commentaries for free on like Patreon, and I'll just do that occasionally. So I'm going to make my Coast Party Blood covered director's commentary just public for free, so you can watch that if you want as well. And hero and heroines are actually going to get characters randomly assigned to them here. You'll see the picture beside their name for each video as a little bonus. Now, a final shout out to everyone who made it to the end of the video and has been supporting the channel. And next up is going to be a passion project of mine, a very different video than this that I can get done quicker on the new LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight video game. Because Batman is one of my favorite franchises ever, and LEGO gaming was actually what this channel originally started as, somehow moving to horror games. So that's going to be more of a critique than a lore and story explanation playthrough video essay like my other videos and this one. A bit of a nostalgic throwback and a little break from horror from me until we get right back into it immediately afterwards. But yes, my old Batman Arkham Asylum video has actually been getting some attention, so that's kind of shocking. And well, you know, Arkham City's anniversary is this year, so I'm going to have to make a video essay on Arkham City around October. And that's actually probably my favorite game ever, so that's a very far in the future reveal, I guess. Of course, thank you for all the crazy support lately on the videos and all the new members who have joined. It's been overwhelming, as you can probably see by how many names that appear now on the videos. Leave your video suggestions below, check the community posts on YouTube for updates, subscribe if you enjoyed, like the video and comment below to help it be seen, and I will see you next time.